What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
And this is the Nerdy.
The Wordy.
The Book Club.
Hell
That's
yeah.
right. We're back from Japan with our first episode on the new channel here. And we are covering Fourth Wing.
New set, new channel, new book.
New set, new channel, new book. That's right. New series. We're in the Empyrean quintology.
Sure, yeah.
Because apparently there's going to be 5 of these.
Cool. All right. I mean, we didn't get to meet the Empyrean at all this book, so...
Yeah, we did.
We didn't meet them?
We didn't meet them.
They're like mentioned. They're like, oh yeah, they're meeting about it.
Well, no, the Empyrean is what the meeting of the dragons is called.
That's like their government.
I think the Empyrean is... My understanding of it, based on that scene, was that it's just when the dragons meet for like a quorum.
Oh no, I thought it was
Empyrean.
like the Empyrean were like specific dragons who made the decisions.
I don't know.
Great.
I don't
Very
know.
clear. I love that that's what the series is called then.
Good morning, everybody. You might see we're on a new set. We're trying this out. This will not be the final set. These aren't the chairs. Those are going to be delivered later. So we just wanted a change for book club. We felt like we had spent so many years sitting facing forward and then twisting our bodies to look at each other.
Yeah.
And so we wanted a set where we could talk to each other a little bit easier on the show.
Yeah.
But also turn to you. And so we're trying things out. Things are going to be in flux a little bit as we try out different configurations and ultimately try and end up with a design that we are happy with.
Yeah.
But this is 1.0 of the 2.0 of the Nerdy Wordy Book Club.
Yeah. Things will adjust slightly. I mean, probably the background and stuff will adjust. I did put the Fourth Wing book up there.
Yeah, we've got it.
For funsies, because my aunt actually sent me 2 different copies of this book because she loves it. And so I hope I don't disappoint her too much in this book club.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's a book that we've owned for so long.
I know, and like everybody's talked about it, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is gonna be like right up my alley.
And
you know,
the other thing is, I think that there's so many opinions based on what we said about things in the past. I think that there's a lot of opinions people already have about what our opinions on this book are going to be.
fair, yeah.
And I'm really curious to see how we either let those people down or maybe give them a surprise.
Or what they want. I don't know.
Or exactly what they want. Yeah.
Who knows?
I think that's less likely, but...
Yeah, when do we ever give our audience exactly what they want? Basically never.
Yeah, I do think the expectation that I went into this book with was a real interesting thing to battle because nothing could have prepared me for Fourth Wing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It's so popular that that I could not have thought that what I was going to get was this.
Yeah.
And I do understand that we'll get to the smut, we'll get to the sex scene, the 2 sex scenes. I also was told there's 1 sex scene. There's definitely 2.
Yeah.
And the general vibe of this book was so wild to me.
Yeah.
But I think that the audience would be surprised to hear I kind of liked it.
Hey, I liked it too.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun read. It was an easy read, and I definitely, we were in Japan, and we'd get back to the hotel, and I'd pick it up and read a little bit because I was like, oh yeah, let's keep this moving forward. It wasn't a hardship to read or get through or anything like that. Yeah, I would say it was like decent. It was good.
Yeah.
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 It's good.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised it's as popular as it is.
See, that I am not surprised by because it is so easy to read and it's like the language is so contemporary that
But it's also so long.
Sure.
It's a chunky book.
Yeah, I don't really know how much that matters.
That's fair. The weirdness for the non-narrative, non-plot, non-character parts of the book for me are that it is both so simple, it's simply written, right? But also so long that it doesn't fall into quite into the easy read category for me, just because the length kind of takes it out of that I can just sit down and kind of breeze through it kind of vibe. It is a bit more of a commitment of a read.
Yeah, I don't really include the length of the book when I'm talking about like the ease of read that it is personally, just because for me it doesn't super matter.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a personal, that's just me being like, it doesn't matter how long it is. If I've said I'm going to read it either way, it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the book really at all.
Yeah, Blige Monkey in the chat is saying that they struggled at the 3/4 mark.
Oh, interesting.
Which I do get. I think that the book can be a bit repetitive, particularly in the school stuff, because there's so little information conveyed to the audience about like what they're doing.
Nothing is described.
Nothing is described.
Except for Zayden's abs.
Do we want to talk about that first? I don't think I've ever read a book, and this gets into the like, I know Michael B. Jordan's production company is making a TV show out of this, right? And
sure,
I understand why we're getting a TV show.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like because I have no idea what anything looks like in this world.
But like, yeah, the production design, and maybe in Iron Flame she does start to, by she I mean the Rebecca Yarros, the author.
Yeah.
Maybe she starts to describe things, but I was really shocked in book 1 at how, particularly in the first third of the book, when I wasn't used to it yet, I was trying to understand the physical dimensions of rooms or the like physical dimensions of the world, what the visual aesthetic of anything is. And she's like almost allergic to adjectives. You know what I mean?
Except when it comes to Zayden's abs.
Yeah, but even those are still described so like practically. And
I don't know. That's the one thing that she describes more than anything else over and over again. And I'm like, okay.
Sure, but there's almost no metaphor in it. There's no like simile. It's all like the original introduction to him, which is that he is at least 4 inches.
4 inches over 6 feet.
At least 4 inches over 6 feet.
I want to get you a T-shirt that says that.
I'm at least 4 inches over 6 feet.
That's our fourth.
With just a dragon.
Yeah.
There's something so odd about the way that she doesn't want to put description to anything except calling all clothing leathers.
Yes.
I get that they have riding leathers, and I get that they have a dress uniform, and I get that they have like
no idea what any of those look like.
Sparring leathers.
Except that they wear black and
no
it's leather.
descriptions.
Even the dragon scales, which that's something that anytime I ever read a dragon book, right? Like how the dragons look and their scales are often one of, I think, the most exciting parts to describe for like the author and the audience, right? Mm-hmm. Are they like gemstones? Are they like vibrant, right? Like there's like so much detail that you can give an audience when it comes to describing a giant flying lizard. And I don't really feel like I have a good grasp on the dragons, like their colors, their hues, their shine, the texture of the scales, mm-hmm. the shape of the scales. So I'm just picturing generic dragon in my head.
Right. Like, I think that one of the fun things about describing dragons for your dragon series is like, do they have long necks? Do they have, like how...
They're just big or they're small and they have a specific color and a specific tail.
Yeah.
But even the tails... I couldn't draw you what each one looks like. Sword tail? Is it a literal sword? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like...
I completely agree. One of the things that drove me crazy early in the book was when she first gets across the parapet. And we'll talk about that scene in a second. But she gets across the parapet and she is injured because she falls on her knee. And so Dane takes her up to Violet, the main character, up to his room to like bandage her knee. And this is our first time getting to see like the writers' quarters at Basquiat College.
Yeah.
And, like, what is that going to look like? What is the experience? What is she going to aspire to have as her room in the future, right? When she gets out of the kind of more barracksy kind of first year dorms. And it's described as like Dane had a bed, a dresser, an
armoire.
I don't think she even uses the word armoire. Like, I think it's like a bed, a desk, a dresser, wardrobe, and a black blanket so that he can't forget that he's a writer. And I was like, so there is a bed, a dresser. Like, there's no architectural kind of touches on what that looks like. So honestly, I spent most of the book just picturing Hogwarts. Yeah. Because I was like, well, fair. I at least have the like visual of Hogwarts from the movies in my head.
Yeah.
And, fuck J.K. Rowling. But, I was
Something
like,
we grew up on, though, so it's easy to pull.
it's just, if she's not going to do any work to try and make the world feel like something. And you brought up a really interesting point about texture. I don't, for someone whose life is so, in Violet, and apparently Rebecca Yarros also has a similar condition. I had it earlier. I don't know what it's called. For someone whose life is so dominated by her physical interactions with the world,
Yeah.
I am surprised the book doesn't have more descriptions of how things feel outside of Violet being in pain.
Right.
There's not a lot of discussion of textures. We never really get the downsides of your uniform being leather.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Leather is such a specific fabric
Yeah.
to wear.
Sometimes they're warm, and that's about it.
The warmer leathers and the yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know when we were going to bring this up. I did want to talk about that describing, because I genuinely don't know what the TV show is going to do.
They have free reign.
They might have to
They get to do whatever they want.
do it all based off book 2.
Or they're just like, cool, we have a world that we can kind of design ourselves and run with it, which is also kind of fun. I do think that there are some people who don't need those powerful descriptives and just fill in the blanks in their head, and it kind of leaves to a more generic world, which I think is, less good in its specificity, but more accessible to a larger audience. And so it might be one of the reasons why this book is so popular. That's just speculation on my part, but yeah, I feel like brief summary is that, we have our main character, Violet. She's the daughter of the general, Sorengale. And Violet has been training to be a scribe all of her life. And her mom went, no, fuck you. You're going to do what I did. And you're going to be a dragon rider, you little weakling. Because Violet has some kind of condition that makes her joints weak, the ligaments, the connective tissue. She's been dealing with injuries a lot of her life, and her mom thinks it's because she got sick when she was pregnant or something along those lines. So she this frail. I love that you called the video what even is
fragile,
it?
frail,
fragile,
fatal.
frail, and fatal. Yeah, she's this I guess fragile character who has to go take on the hardest physical tests that this world has to offer.
Rebecca Yarros has a condition. It's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
That's what I thought I might have. That's like a hypermobility syndrome.
Yeah, and so
interesting.
the idea for Violet's condition is based on this Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and the way in which Rebecca Yarros interacts with that condition in her life.
Do you know if she also has ADHD? Because there's actually a large correlation between the two.
I do not.
All right, cool.
But based on how many books she's written, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
There is a lot in the beginning of the book about how Violet, who has a condition that makes her very brittle, shouldn't be in actually it's kind of throughout the whole book, but shouldn't be a dragon rider, and the book is right about that. The book is correct. She should not do this, and the fact that she does, the book doesn't do a good enough job, in my opinion, of ever making it make sense that she succeeds.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't agree with you there.
There's a point in the book, and we're not going to go chapter by chapter, I don't think, on this one, just because we're doing it as a full book. There's a point in the book where she starts flying off a dragon a lot.
Yep.
And I'm like, if you have a condition where you get hurt very easily and you're repeatedly getting caught by dragon, no matter how gently the dragon catches you, if you take 30 swings just at your luck, you're just going to be broken. And I think that the book, I think that I would have bought into the condition that Violet had more and her plausibility as a dragon rider if the book had just used the magical healing of Nolan more.
Oh, but they deliberately don't. They're like, oh, you're weak if you go get healed.
Yeah.
Which honestly, that is a world building thing that does seem a little silly, just because you are all training for battle and for war, and like the amount of time that you spend injured and unable to train is a huge detriment to you and your squad.
Well, and to your training. Like the amount of time that everyone in this Basgiath War College would spend just recovering from injuries is so pointless when you have magical healing that doesn't seem to have a limit. It's not like Nolan can only like cast 3 level 1 spell slots a day. The limits on magic aren't really established in a way that makes me think that Nolan can't just get them back on their feet.
Well, they kind of are, because they do say that Brennan was the most powerful healer. So Brennan is Violet's deceased brother. Who was like the best.
We're doing book club. He's not dead.
He's not dead. So spoiler
This is
alert.
full spoilers, yeah.
I think Nerdy was in chapter 2, and he was like, I don't think the brother's dead. And I had already finished the book at this point, and I was like, oh, really? What makes you think that?
Well, I think I specifically said either the father or the brother's alive.
The first time you said the brother's alive. Later on, you were like, either the father or the brother's alive. And I was like, yeah, sure.
Here's the thing.
I also thought that he would be alive, but I couldn't tell you that because you hadn't started reading the book yet.
That's fair. This is a book that doesn't trade in its own ideas. It trades in ideas of every other book you've ever read, and it mixes them up in a way where like it's not quite to the level of Aragon, where you're like, oh, this is like Star Wars with kind of a dragon rider skin placed over it. The first book, and then obviously Christopher Paolini really grew, and obviously we love later books in that series so much.
I love all of them. I just want to be very clear.
Sure, and I'm not even saying Aragon's bad. I'm just saying that like Aragon.
Some people do.
Sure, and we've done it on book club. You can go hear our thoughts about that series. Some people say that Aragon is bad simply because it's a skin over of Star Wars. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that there's, especially for first-time authors, I think that there's more leeway I give for like developing your voice. I don't expect you to have your voice developed on the first book.
Especially when you're 14.
This book doesn't quite do that, but if you've read a lot of books, this book won't surprise you all that much.
Yeah.
Like there
was one twist that I was like, oh, cool. And that was kind of...
What twist was that?
The 2 dragons. I knew she would bond Taryn. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, obviously. But bonding both of them was a surprise. It's like, oh, interesting. That's...
A surprise. We'll get into the world building of that. But, like,
sure.
The world building of Andarna being her dragon is fucking insane.
Yeah.
So, premise. Let's talk about let's talk about the opening. Okay. So the book opens with a meeting between Violet and her mom. Her mom is like, no, you are going to go be a dragon rider. Violet's like, that means I'm probably going to die. Her mom's okay with that.
Yeah. Her sister comes in, Mira, and her sister is a well-renowned rider. He's like,
I don't think she's that renowned. She just graduated.
No, she is. She's famous.
She's famous.
She was at a specific battle and she earned a bunch of like medals and shit. She's famous.
Sure. I just mean she's not renowned in that she's famous because she recently had a great success, not because of like a career of success. She's only a year out of school, right?
Yeah, sure. I don't know how long these people live, so.
You know what? That's fair.
I have no idea what the life expectancy is.
That's very fair.
But yeah, she's like, Violet's gonna die, and her mom's like, well, too bad, so sad. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And so Mira takes Violet and repacks her bag because Violet's being a little bit ridiculous about how many books she's trying to bring, which feels very much like me on vacation as a kid until I had my own Game Boy. And then I was like, books.
Yeah.
Where we're going, we don't need no stinking books. I need my Game Boy, and I need the little light that shines the light on the game screen. Back in the day, kids, Game Boys didn't have backlit screens.
Yeah.
And so if you wanted to play in the car at night, you needed a little light that killed your battery so fast.
Or you just caught the street light every time you drove by, and you could catch a glimpse of it. I definitely remember that.
Yeah. And so they pack the bag. We find out about a book of fairy tales.
Yeah.
That Violet...
Super not important. She leaves it behind. It never comes back.
We get it, but we find out that Violet thinks this is a very common book. Even though Okay.
I know. Violet grew up in a library. And was like, I've never seen any book like this before in my life. But she doesn't realize it until like 6 months later.
Violet spends her whole life studying and doesn't know that the Venin are prohibited material. And I find that to be, it's such an odd thing to introduce in the series.
Yeah. I do also find it odd that her mother allowed that book to be in her possession.
That's just her mom not paying attention, though.
It could be. Absolutely could
Yeah.
be. But, like, if there's this huge conspiracy, which there is, this whole,
Yeah.
whatever. Her not, like, hearing young Violet talk about the fantasy tales that she read. Like,
That also just happened to be the conspiracy that she's covering up at all times.
yeah.
Violet's
a little
mom,
bit of an oversight.
Violet's mom definitely killed her dad, right?
Killed her dad?
Yeah. He found out some shit. It's all in the little note that he put in the back cover of the book that he gave Violet.
Yeah. I
Or
don't
in
know
the
how...
spine. I'm not really sure how that worked, but
Yeah, that was a little bit confusing to me.
well, it's not really physically described, so you just kind of have to go with
There's
it.
just a little note in the book somewhere that falls out. Yeah. I was like, what?
So Violet has to. It is the first chapter is a wild ride. Like nothing's
It moves fast.
Nothing's described, and so it's just events.
Yeah.
And so we quickly get to Violet is going to join. Violet has to cross the parapet, which is a bridge that you have to walk across in the wind.
But it's like a very tiny bridge.
So my
It's
question
like a
is,
balance beam.
I guess it's kind of like a balance beam, but it is also like I have so many questions about the parapet. I don't really understand how so
answers.
many people die on the parapet. I don't like. I think this is going to be the hardest scene for the live action to make work, because why don't they just get down and put their hands on the, like, I think that if the book was like, you're being monitored, if your hands touch the parapet, you're disqualified. I understand how this works, right?
Oh, like, why don't they just, like, crawl across?
Yes, but in the book, they're like, no one's watching. No one can even fucking see you out there.
Yeah.
Do whatever you need to do to get across, and nobody uses their hands. And I'm like, oh, they're all just fucking morons. Like, you've brought all the dumbest people in the country together to not crawl across this thing towards glory. Who gives a fuck if you use your hands? There's no rules.
Yeah.
You're allowed to straight up murder each other on this little bridge. Why are you not taking the advantage of getting lower?
Yeah. Could not tell you. No idea. I was just like, oh, interesting. And then I moved on.
Well, but that's what the book does. And that's what
Yeah.
the book kind of does with a lot of its ideas, is rather than establish them in a way that makes the audience, I think, lean in, it kind of asks you to be like, oh, that was probably, if she described that more, it probably would have been really cool, but I'm on to the hot guys now.
Yeah. The book clearly has its priorities, and the priorities are Zayd and Zabs, all 8 of them. So yeah, it is one of those things where I was like, sure, I guess this works if you say so, because I don't know otherwise. Because we move on so fast, and it doesn't really matter.
I think that one of the reasons why the parapet stands out, especially having finished the book, is that they live on the other side of this thing in this, keep. And there's no point in the book where it's described as being windy, or like she's trying to fall asleep the first night and the howl of the wind on the castle keeps her up.
Yeah, no.
Like,
it's not super windy. It's sometimes there's a bit of rain or snow, and that's kind of all that we get.
And so either there's like a week or two every year that they know it's going to be crazy windy. And so that's when they schedule parapet day. Because can you imagine getting parapet day that year where there's no wind?
Well, no, that's what it is. It's the same day every year, and so this year was just particularly shitty, and that's why more people died than usual crossing.
But still, like 15% don't make it on a regular.
On
like,
a normal. I know.
It gets into the like.
People are bad at walking, and maybe it is just really windy, but we're never told that like it's always really windy.
Yeah, so we get to the other side and we meet Dane Athos. Just the worst character. Like, almost no redeeming qualities from the start. Dane was the reason why I knew that this book had a major conspiracy in it. And I was like, oh, this guy sucks so hard. The only logical, like, end of this book that I can see is that he's in on it.
Right.
Like, he's just too much of a piece of shit. Right. And she describes him as being so hot. And like, he's my best friend who doesn't believe in me at all and isn't really that kind to me and kind of only views me sexually. And I was like, oh, okay, this guy sucks.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Dane is very concerned for Violet because Xaden Ryerson, who some people in our Discord have called Zaddy, even though he's 23 years old, is...
If he's a father, that would be the dumbest twist.
Xaden,
I'm so sorry.
Well, at 23, you could definitely have a kid.
Yeah, he's already responsible for, 117 other people? Why would you add another one to that list?
Especially when they have male and female fertility drugs.
Love that.
Or anti-fertility drugs.
Yeah, hey, love that. Happy to see it. That's great. Everyone's on the pill and everyone's fucking. It's a good time.
That was one of my favorite little details that they tossed into the book where they're like, oh, no, I can't get pregnant. No, I can't get pregnant either. Like,
great, love
writers,
it. Let's fuck.
Writers, they do be, it's like the Olympic Village. They provide condoms for everyone because they know everyone's hot, everyone's fucking.
And they're all like, they could die at any minute. So, everyone's horny as fuck because YOLO.
So Xaden is the son of Fen Ryerson, who led the Tirish Rebellion.
Yeah.
We are in the country
Tirish,
of Navarre.
Tirish, yeah.
He led the Tirish Rebellion, and when he was defeated by the Navarrans, the king got a dragon to mark the 117 children of the rebellious dragon riders? I'm assuming.
No, not dragon riders, just like the rebels, like anyone who was a leader in the rebellion.
Okay, a leader in the rebellion.
I don't think that they're dragon riders necessarily. Some of them probably.
Some of them were.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Fen was. Mm-hmm. And so these children get marked with like a tattoo that goes from the wrist all the way to the neck.
Yeah, some of the tattoos are bigger than others, I think.
But I think that the thing is, it's seen...
Xaden's is the biggest.
No matter how you wear your clothes, it is seen on your... If you cover your hand, it's going to be on your neck. So you have to cover your neck and your hand in order to not see it poke out of like a dress shirt.
Yeah, I guess.
So it's a mark that's very clearly meant to be visible so that people can tell who these betrayers are. And the king, in his infinite wisdom, was like, yeah, we're going to mark these children. We're going to treat them as villains. And we're going to force them into
to join our military, our elite section of the military.
Not even
like the infantry.
The most dangerous weapons we have.
Yeah.
And we're going to allow them to have access to all of the most dangerous pieces of our military equipment.
Yeah, pretty much.
And obviously not equipment, they're dragons. But like when this was first described... When we get this kind of reveal that, like, yeah, all of the rebels' children who fucking hate the king and want to kill you, Violet, they have to become dragon riders. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing.
So my thinking of it is, and this is just me kind of inferring information from the book. This is not explicitly said. But for me to make this work in my head, I believe that when they were marked... Mm-hmm. That it was not common knowledge that Melgren wouldn't be able to see the future if they were involved, right? So Melgren's whole thing is he can see the outcomes of battles.
Maybe.
Whatever the fuck that means. I don't know. Very questionable.
His power is very... I don't think that's true.
I have so many questions about that. But if you're like, hey, I have got a dude who can see the future when it comes to wars, I'm going to put the rebels... into the army so that I always know what the outcome is and whatever they're planning.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that the conscription happened before they realized that they could not see them if there were more than 3 in a meeting. I have no idea.
But regardless of that, so here's the problem with Okay, we're jumping all around. General Melgren, right?
Yes.
General Melgren is the big
leader
bad
of the army.
The whole series.
He's got the
biggest... final fight is going to be against his dragon, right?
Oh yeah, he's got the biggest, baddest dragon, and he can see the outcome of battles.
But that doesn't really square away with anything. Like the idea that he can see the outcome of battles is irrelevant in the way in which he's discussed in the book. Right? So the book treats it as if he can see what is happening as it happens if there aren't 3 marked people around. right? But the problem with that is that that's not a bad, like, Xaden is worried about being seen doing stuff when there's no battle happening.
Yeah, that's why I put it in quotations, because I don't understand his power and how it's described. And I think, honestly, that the characters whose POV we have also don't understand it. So I'm like, whatever.
And so I just think the book is misleading us on what Melgren's power is. And he actually has some sort of, like, omnipotence.
Yeah.
But if the three, but this gets into the same thing. If 3 marked ones block Melgren's view of them, letting them have dragons is dumb, because you're giving dragons to the only people who can block the view of your general's sight.
But that's why, I mean,
like, it just doesn't make sense.
No, but that's why I think that the conscription happened before they realized that they couldn't see them if they were in larger groups.
But they're still conscripting them.
Yeah, well, because they couldn't, like, take it back, because they don't.
Why not? It's a fascist military state. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
No, because
they can literally do anything.
Because then that is suspicious, right? It is not common knowledge that marked people are hidden from his, like, foresight.
I know, but if you poisoned every dragon rider in Basket War College, no one would ever know. It's a fascist war school that literally for the first year, you're not allowed to send letters anywhere. Like, they control the flow of information.
Yeah.
They control your location. They're if they needed to get rid of all the marked ones, they just could. So they're keeping them around despite the fact that they are their own general's greatest weakness. Because why? And they are actively not... They are actively disappearing for chunks of time that nobody notices, even though it's a military school. The book, as much fun as I think the book is, it really strains against my ability to understand why the bad guys, who are, you know, the parents, the generals and the teachers, why they're doing any of this.
Yeah, I do think that the book asks a lot in terms of suspension of disbelief, and doesn't offer much in exchange.
Yes, I agree with that.
And if you are completely willing to suspend your disbelief and be like, yeah, this works, yeah, absolutely, then I think that this book is great. It's very fun. It's a cool idea, right? And I think it moves fast enough that, like, if that's the kind of reader that you are, I totally understand why you would love this.
Yeah, and because when we do finally we get into the school, we meet Rhiannon. Rhiannon Cates, you're in the book. Long time viewer of the channel. I'm so scared for her now that she's joined the Basgiath War College. We meet Dane Atos. We meet Rydok, who apparently is very funny off page. He's never funny on page.
Yeah.
We just keep getting told that he's a funny prankster boy on page. And I find that I actually kind of started to find that to be the joke. That he isn't funny ever when we see him, but that everyone thinks that he's very funny. And I was like, oh, it's almost kind of, I almost never want him to have a good joke. Yeah. Because it is funnier to me that everyone just describes him as being this really hilarious guy who's, and it's not that the book's not funny. I actually think the book is very funny at times.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I just think that Riddick isn't funny. But everyone thinks he is.
We never see him be funny.
Yeah, and like that to me ended up being funny.
Yeah.
Weird. Like I found myself around into the joke.
Yeah.
That Riddick is funny. I don't. He's a prankster. He's never in trouble. No one is ever in trouble for anything. So I don't know what Riddick could have done that would have got him in trouble.
That's not true. That's not. What's her face? Amanda? Is that her name? The girl, the wing leader that gets fucking.
Oh yeah.
Killed. That she does get in trouble. But that is about the only punishment we see. So, excuse me, the writers have a codex.
Yes.
Rules that you absolutely must follow, because otherwise there would just be fucking anarchy. All right. It turns out that there aren't that many rules. You can basically try and kill one another, no problem, except when someone else is sleeping, because that's rude. Mm-hmm. So that is definitely very important for later, because there's a guy, Jack Barlow, who hates...
We meet on the parapet.
Yeah, we meet him on the parapet. He's like, I'm going to kill you, Violet. So she holds a knife to his balls, and then lets him cross.
Well, and he does... So Jack on the parapet just stops in the middle of it, waits for the person behind him, and just throws that person off.
Just for fun. Yeah, so he sucks as a person, right? And Violet's like, wow, this guy sucks as a person. I'm definitely going to let him live to kill me.
And so Jack Barlow threatens to kill Violet and is like, I'm definitely going to kill you, and then never attacks her, ever. And never actually makes an attempt on it until a war game 7 months later. He could have killed her literally at any time, and nobody would have done anything.
I mean, he
but
tries to get other people to kill her.
Doesn't? I know, but it is an element of the book where they're like, people can kill each other at any time. Mm-hmm. And there's like 4 months where before Violet bonds at the threshing, where she gets her, Liam becomes her guard. There's a lot of time where I'm like, nobody's attacking her. And they could.
Yeah, I partially wondered if that was because of Xaden. Like, Xaden's like, I'm gonna kill you. But, like, isn't...
I just don't know why Jack would care about that.
Well, because Jack is a newbie and Xaden is, like, the most powerful third-year wing leader. And so if you cross him, you're kind of dead meat. I think, like, obviously, I think Xaden would just fuck up Jack, no problem.
Yeah,
so I think I think that is part of it. Like, that's my kill... is such a weird thing, but does seem to be a part of the story. Yeah, I don't know.
It seems to be a part of the story. But so we meet Xaden.
Yeah.
And Xaden is by far and away the best character in the book.
Oh my God, yeah.
Xaden is a good person. Xaden might be the only good person. No, Liam is. Rhiannon is.
Yeah, no, and I think that Violet is a pretty good person. She doesn't, like, turn them in for no reason, right? Like, she's like, oh, he's helping them.
Violet is in the book. Violet is the protagonist of the book.
I will say.
In the most, like, protagonisty kind of way.
I will say. I don't find the characters in this book to be particularly strong. Mm-hmm. I think the characters are a little bit two-dimensional and generic for my taste. I don't know what anybody likes or dislikes. I know people's opinions on a couple different things.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like, don't know how they behave. I don't really know a lot of their different, like, worldviews and things like that. And so the character building is a little light for my personal taste in this book, but I think Xaden is definitely the strongest character by far.
Violet to me falls into the modern protagonist of these romantasy books that cannot be interesting.
Because she has to be generic enough that anyone else can put themselves in her shoes.
Yes. I think that one of the things that's hurting a lot of these books as I read them, and a lot of modern books, is that the protagonists are truly... like cipher characters so that you can imprint yourself on them. Like Violet doesn't have any desires other than Xaden.
She wants to fuck so bad and she wants to live.
She also like her weakness is this condition that she has that never actually stops her from doing anything. Right? It is the
I mean, it stops her from being able to hold on to her dragon like everyone else.
Right, but that doesn't impact the plot in any way. It is only so that we can have scenes where people talk about the fact that she can't hold on to her dragon. And
it's to allow Xaden to do something for her.
There's no element of the plot where that actually stops her from accomplishing something. She's never held back by it. No one is ever injured because of it. There's no point where any of her weaknesses appear in any way other than to further her relationship with Xaden. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this as a criticism because I do understand that the point of these romantasy books is to allow the people who enjoy the lead up to the spice to be able to picture themselves in the character.
Sure.
But I do think that it weakens the books by necessity.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where I don't think Violet will ever be the most interesting character in like fantasy.
Yeah.
Because this style, we have to get to the smut scene and we have to have the audience feel like they can experience that smut scene the way that they want to is more important to Violet's character than anything Violet does.
Yeah, because like the one defining characteristic of her is that she's horny.
Yeah.
Like she literally cannot look at Xaden without like getting sweaty.
Well, and that's from like the first time she sees him, and she describes
Literally.
Dane as being the hot, like, oh my god, he's become so hot and tall and
But she does that
muscly and
once and then never again.
And then she sees Aiden and she never has eyes for anybody else.
Yeah. Which is one of those things that personally I can't really relate to, so it seems very corny to me.
Yeah.
To every time that there is another, like, a specific person in the room that you just you are just thinking about how hot they are. Like, for me, that is not a personal experience that I can relate to. I don't really see people that way.
Mm-hmm.
I acknowledge when people are attractive.
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting there, like, fucking dampening my panties over it. Like, whereas she has to change those, like, 3 times a day, especially when she's on the sparring mat with him.
Well, fucking Zayden later in the book makes the comment that he gets hard every time he looks at her. And I'm like, what? What do you mean?
Are you guys 14 and you, like, can't control? Like,
but also, you're wearing leather. Like, I don't know if you've ever had an erection in leather.
Stiff leather. Yeah.
Rebecca
I have.
Yaros.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, no,
Don't
it sucks.
do it.
Don't recommend it.
The Zayden is great. And I do like Zayden a lot. And I hate Dane a lot. Mm-hmm. I think the book could have been stronger, even in the, like, romantasy of it, if the split between Dane and Zayden and which one of them Violet's attentions were on wasn't so clear so fast.
Yeah.
It felt like the book...
There was no push and pull.
Yeah. There was no tension in which one is better for her.
Yeah.
It was so obvious. And this also gets into the villains of the book, right? Mm-hmm. The generals, Melgren and Sorngale and the king.
And also Dane's dad.
Atos, yeah.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
All of those characters... they're all clearly fascist evil people.
Yeah.
There's never a point where I bought into the kindness and generosity of any of them. Some of the teachers I did, right? Like Cowrie and Carr seem like they're, Carr's strict, but they're teachers. They also don't have personalities. We only kind of see them in the way that they provide information.
Yeah.
Carr maybe has a little bit more of a personality in that he's like the hard-edged teacher, which comes with having to be the one that deals with signets. But when the twist comes at the end of the book that they're the bad guys, there's never really been a point in the book where I believed in Dane. I never really believed in the Navarran leaders. Like, the book wants me to like Zayden so fast, and I did, because Zayden rocks.
Yeah.
Like, Zayden is a great character. He's interesting. The scars on his back there's so much depth to him.
Yeah.
His relationships. One of the things about Violet is that she is so much better once she gets in with Zayden, because Zayden has very legitimate relationships with the people around him.
For sure.
That I did enjoy reading. Yeah. Like, I think that once you get past Violet, and once you get past the threshing, the book becomes so much better, because the Tyrion relationships are actually, like, they're people who have a reason to be with each other.
Yeah.
That isn't just like, we're friends at War College and, like, this is crazy and we might die.
Yeah.
They are bonded by something a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
They have goals and they're aligned. Like, Rhiannon wants to be a rider, but I don't know why. Right? Other than, like, glory and fame and ridership, right? But the long term of that, none of these characters have a, like, one day I want to. They just want to be riders. So when you get to the Tyrans, Liam and Imogen, especially, I loved Imogen. I thought she was fascinating.
Yeah.
Garrick and Zayden.
Yeah. Liam is also great.
Liam is amazing.
Yeah.
We'll get to him, but he might be my favorite character in the book, even though Zayden I think is the best written.
Yeah.
You get to the second half of the book and you kind of get into the Tyrans, and the book just opens up because these characters have 3-dimensional goals for their life. Mm-hmm. And they have a bond that's based on a cultural thing that I started to understand. I never really understood the culture of Navarre.
No, Zayden has a history, and none of our other characters feel like they have a backstory pre-War College,
mm-hmm.
right? Even Violet.
Yeah.
Except that she grew up as a scribe. That is like...
Well, and she lost her brother and her dad, and, like...
Yes, but we don't actually really see how that ever impacted her. She's sad about it, but it didn't, like... I think losing her father changed her life, obviously, and not being able to be a scribe changed her life, obviously, but, like, she mentions religion, like, once or twice. Like, does she believe, like, what are the protocols for worshiping in this world? You know, what's like a childhood memory that she has with either of her siblings? Does she have any single positive memory of her mother whatsoever? Not that's ever described. Like, there's nothing that feels like it comes from pre-Brennan dying, I think.
Other than, like, I read a lot, but didn't realize that my fantasy fables were not allowed in the library.
Yeah, exactly. Rhiannon, we know, has a family, but don't know anything about her interests outside of what the War College is, right?
That, and she's bisexual.
Yes.
She's a rampant bisexual queen.
Yes, exactly. But Xaden is the one that we actually, like, feel like we understand who he is and why he is the way that he is because of the events around his life.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. It's so interesting to frame this like military book around half of the cast are military cadets who are in the military mostly because of nepotism and are kind of frivolous outside of that. And then the other half are in it because they have to be, and their parents fought a rebellion, and they know all the secrets of the world, and it's I think that what I'm getting at, and where I think we're both landing, and if I can put some words in your mouth here, is that the amount of attention to details that is put into the Tyrans is not in the Navarans, and so the weight of the book is so shallow in the first half and so deep in the second half that the scale is tipped wrong. And I do think that if you can I would understand people who stop this book before the threshing. I could understand people who are like, this is repetitive and long, and this fragile girl I don't understand how she's doing this, right?
Yeah.
It's the writing is like a 6th grade level writing. She straight up calls Xaden toxic a bunch in a way that felt very funny to me, where she's like, I can't believe I'm falling for a toxic man. And I was like, what fantasy series? Why do you use the word toxic for this? Where does that come from in your world?
The language is very much like millennial college in like 2010, you know, like.
But I think the weight of the book, if you can get past the threshing, I do think that it gets good. Like I think that in the second half, I think it's sort of a perfunctory first half that just doesn't do a lot until the 2 dragons. There was nothing about the book that I thought was very unique or interesting.
Yes.
And then the 2 dragons happens, and then from there on, I think that there's a kind of solid, like, derivative but solid little action series that happens.
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
There's a lot of interesting stuff there. So let's get through the early teachings quickly.
Yeah, basically they're at school, and Violet has only had 6 months of training, while most of these kids have been training their entire lives. So she uses poisons to win her fights. She figures out who her opponents are because Mira gave her a journal that Brennan gave her.
Which, okay, can we talk about that? So they established the idea that when someone dies, you burn all of their possessions.
Yeah, right.
But the journal isn't they're like, well, we should have burned this. And I was like, but Brennan gave that to Mira while he was still alive. So that's not, do you burn every gift? So someone dies, you burn every gift they ever gave you? Like, if half of a married couple dies, do you have to, like, go through your apartment and be like, did I buy that or did my husband?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I paid for that. But he paid for the stove, so we need a new stove.
Yeah, because he literally wrote it for Mira to Mira. It's like,
well, no, it was the book of Brennan, and then he gave it to Mira.
No, but he addresses her in the book.
Oh, he does. You're right.
He does.
Yeah.
It was intended as a gift for her. So yeah, I don't really know if it is his at that point anymore.
Practically Incarnate says they apparently have the same name for months as we do. That bugged me.
Oh yeah.
Wait, no. Okay, we'll get back to the bird in a second. We got to the point where they mentioned that the threshing was in October. And Clarice had already finished the book first, and then I started it. And so I was like, oh, it's October. Did I miss where they set up what month the book starts in?
Nope.
And you were like, no idea. And I was like, why? Because the book goes, the threshing is going to be in October. Mm-hmm. And I was like, is that
a month away?
Soon?
8 months away?
I didn't know what month it was. And so I was like, you can't put a date in the future first. You have to, if you're going to establish the book based on something happening in the future, you need to tell me when now is. There's not even like, because she doesn't describe anything. There's no, it's the first day of spring. Like there was no description of when we were. And so when October popped up, I was like, that's a date I understand.
Guess we're there.
Is that next week?
Yeah, no clue. That is, as far as I know, and I did double check, it is not established in the book how much time takes place between.
Well, no, it is. The book starts in October.
It does?
Or no, sorry. No, the book starts in.
So they go through winter, but it doesn't.
No, no. Sorry, the book starts in like June, I would guess.
Does it?
Or like.
You would guess, though.
April?
You would guess. You have no idea. I don't know either.
I don't know how much time it takes for them to get to the threshing. 6 months?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Is we don't know.
They just say that the threshing's in October, but then I don't know that any other month is like ever mentioned.
I don't think so.
But they are wearing leathers all summer.
Oh yeah, they are shreddy. But yeah, so
we forgot that Mira. Oh my god! So Mira gives Violet.
Oh, a dragon scale
corset.
Yeah, corset. Yeah.
That has dragon scales that have been permanently shrunk by magic, so that she is able to not die.
Yes, because she does get stabbed or attempted to be stabbed multiple times, and that armor is the only reason that she survives. So thank you, Mira.
And I do like that the book, the book does have a scene on the sparring mats where Xaden gets mad at her for not wearing it, and she's like, "I have to wash it.
I have to wash this thing.
I sleep in it. I have to wash it sometimes."
Yeah.
Her ribs are gonna be so fucked sleeping in a corset.
She's gonna have such a snatched waist, like that waist trainer. Oh damn, that hourglass figure. So she's able to survive because she poisons all of her opponents and such. So Brennan's book tells her the location of a chalkboard, I guess. It's not described where these are written down. Yeah, I was like, oh, it's like a clipboard somewhere.
That they leave out.
Yeah.
Where she is able to sneak into. This is a war college.
You would think it'd be in like a teacher's lounge or something.
Or like a locked drawer.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Anyways, she's able to determine who her opponents are because of a list somewhere that Brennan knows about that he passes on that information that has not changed in the last 6 years.
Despite the fact that these are characters who are all able to ward doors to stop people from getting in and out of things.
True.
You would think that in the school where every magic user can ward doors, people wouldn't be able to sneak around all the time. Like day and night, anywhere you want to go, you can go. Despite the fact that they establish that they can ward things. And that like children can ward things.
You can break wards.
I know, but you would know.
Sure.
The wards were taken down. Oh, someone's fucking around. Yeah. Like the book establishes that this is a war school where there are wards that children can make, but that nobody ever uses them to protect military secrets.
Yeah.
Like the communication missive that they break open when they find out that like the battle brief, and we'll get to the concept of battle brief.
Yeah.
But the battle brief, you'd think that would be warded.
Nope. No seals.
It is, in fact, it is sealed so poorly that if you just drop it, it will pop open.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it has wildly classified information.
Yeah.
It just has a little wax seal on it that pops off.
Yeah. So the two main things that they seem to study are, obviously, we talked about like the hand-to-hand fights, which Violet poisons her way through.
Yeah.
And then there's the battle briefs, which is like a history. It's either a history of previous battles that they analyze, or it is current battle situations that they analyze.
Mm-hmm. And Violet is really good at this because Violet is the smartest girl in the world.
She's super smart, and she was going to be a scribe. Yeah. So she's really good at this. Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that the book did a fairly good job of walking me through her thought process to make me believe that she understands what she's talking about in terms of the battle tactics and the right questions to ask.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I think
that's tough to do.
One thing that I struggle with sometimes is that I'm told a character is smart, and then I don't buy it. And I did legitimately believe that Violet was intelligent in this book.
Yeah.
I thought Rebecca Yarros did a really good job of selling me on the fact that the way that her brain processed information allowed her to succeed at things.
Yeah.
And I want to commend her for that, because that's a really hard thing to do. I think writing intelligence is very difficult.
Yeah.
And I thought she did excellently. I never was doubtful of Violet's intelligence.
You're not Xaden. You
I'm
can't
not
call her
Zaddy. I never doubted her intelligence.
Yeah.
I did buy into the idea that Violet was the smart girl.
Yeah.
And I was genuinely impressed with that. I thought it worked throughout the entire book, including at the end when she kind of is telling Xaden to stop while she figures it out for herself.
Yeah.
And I liked that beat. And I do think that in trying to sell me on why Xaden finds her attractive, the scenes where he watches her process information, I'm like, oh, I get the relationship.
Yeah.
Xaden and Violet make a lot of sense to me. Right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I never was like, some of these books, you know, where it's Morning Glory Milking Farm, when we covered that, you're like, why is this Minotaur even attracted to this girl? She gives a great hand job, but like, she's not interesting.
Yeah.
She's not, you know what I mean? And this book did a really good job, despite Violet kind of being a blank slate character for the audience to imprint themselves on, in giving the moments where he's interacting with her enough weight that I understood why he was with her.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. It might sound like I'm criticizing the book by saying that she's a blank slate. I think she has to be a little bit for this genre. And I think it is a weakness of the genre, not of this book.
Yeah.
But in that, I think that Rebecca Yarros understands this genre very well and like writes to... I don't think she writes like fantasy world building very well, right? I don't think the world building of this book is very good.
Yeah.
But I think the romanticy of this book is very good.
Yeah.
And so I get why, like, in this genre that is currently kind of taking over, this is a book that I think is really good at the specific genre things. I think this book could have elevated by being better at the fantasy things. But as a romanticy book, I totally get why it is successful.
Yeah.
Even if a lot of the first half isn't for me.
Yeah. Blajmonk in the chat says, one thing I liked is how Violet would lore drop on us as a way to distract herself whenever she was scared.
Yeah.
I liked that, and then it disappears. It doesn't come back when she's learning how to use her signet or magic or like flying lessons. Like it's
the flying lessons is when it would have been good.
Yeah, it's a cool idea that I was like, oh, that's a fun way to do that. Yeah, sure, whatever. And then it just kind of fizzles out and disappears and never comes back. And I was like, oh no, but that is a character trait that could have helped like build her as more of a three-dimensional character. And it's just a thing that's kind of weirdly forgotten about, which I agree. I liked it. I wish that there had been more of that in the book.
The scene where she does it on the gauntlet in particular is really strong.
Yeah. Once she gets to the threshing, it disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because the post-threshing, the book is a very different book.
Yeah.
It's a stronger book. Like, I think it's a better book post-threshing.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, before the halfway point. I don't think the threshing's quite halfway. So,
yeah.
You know, I do think the stronger version of the book is in the second half. I do wish, of the elements of the first part of the book, the pre-threshing, that I wish were pulled forward into the second half, I do wish that was one of them.
Yeah. Because I liked it as an idea. So before we get to the threshing, we do have to talk about the gauntlet, which is basically like American Ninja Warrior obstacle course. So they have to climb this crazy machine thing to get to the plateau where the threshing takes place. And the threshing is where the dragons choose their riders, where the riders prove themselves to the dragons to then form a bond. And the gauntlet makes no sense to me because I'm very bad at visualizing anything. But
it's not described very well.
Okay. I was like, is this a me thing? Because I'm usually not very good at this. It's American Ninja Warrior. That's the only way I know how to describe it.
It's more like Wipeout than American Ninja Warrior, but yeah.
Sure, yeah, I guess, yeah. But Wipeout, if you fall, you die. And we do watch several characters fall and die while attempting to climb this thing. And Violet cannot... Because she's too short, she can't
make it up the vertical wall at the end of the American Ninja Warrior course.
Which I don't know what that is. I don't know what height has to do. No. I thought it was the famous chimney stacks. That's what it was.
No, she can't make it up the vertical wall. That is the like.
No, she says she's too short to use the chimney stacks, which is not even the last thing. It's like the fourth thing or something.
No. She's too short for the vertical wall. which is why she has to use the knife, like most of the way up the vertical wall to swing her leg up.
Oh, but that's the first time she ever tries that is at the threshing because she
doesn't
only doesn't
make
even,
it to the vertical wall.
That's what I mean. There is an obstacle before that where she's like, I'm too short for this. It's something to do with chimney stacks that I don't understand.
So the book establishes that there is an agility course that you have to succeed at to get into the school, right? So there is a test that you have to pass pre-book. Parapet.
Yeah, you're
in order
like
to qualify.
graded on it because they say Violet scored well in agility,
and they were surprised. So, in a real military, that isn't this very very silly military, the vertical wall that is the height you need to be able to jump to get onto a dragon,
which doesn't make sense because dragons are different sizes,
would be in that test, right? Would be in the agility course you take before the school, like
so that you don't just go die unnecessarily.
if there's a legitimate height issue where Violet straight up just can't climb something that she has to be able to climb, and you know what it is, that should be part of the preschool test. Why are you murdering students? And I'm not just talking about Violet. Why are you killing off so many citizens completely unnecessarily if they are good at every other thing that they need to do to be a dragon, but they can't get on a dragon mid-combat? Why isn't that part of the preschool test?
I could not tell you. I feel like if they're like, hey, we don't want a bunch of our children to die unnecessarily, that they would vet that beforehand. But that's just me.
It's such a like wasteful obstacle that you're like, oh man, you're great at sparring and you'd be an incredible infantry officer because you're brilliant, but we're gonna let you die needlessly because you're not tall enough to climb onto a dragon. Like, okay, yeah, sure. The waste of life in this book is crazy.
Immense. I know.
Well, and one of the things that breaks the logic of the book for me, unfortunately, in the first half. And again, like the second half is so much better. The first time we spar on the mats, Jack Barlow kills someone, and he snaps his neck. And the teacher's like, "You were not supposed to do that." And Jack is like, "How was I supposed to know his neck was so weak?" And in my mind, I was like, "That's not how the military works." Like this.
Right, he would be disciplined.
For doing what he wasn't supposed to do. And I understand the codex of the only time you can't kill another thing is in your sleep. Or when a teacher is standing over you telling you what you're supposed to do. And if you cannot follow orders, you are useless. And
good soldiers follow orders.
The idea that they're building the most powerful and most necessary element of their army is their dragon riders, but they are comfortable with them not following any rules is so illogical to my brain, and the book doesn't give me a reason why that would work. Because it doesn't, because all of the dragon riders we see are either rebellious and actively working against the government, or they are like evil, like straight up just evil and not good at following orders. And so it's like you've built a military where your most powerful people are straight up just not good in your military. And the Jack moment establishes that early. Like no one is thinking. These adults are not building something that will last, and it's shocking that it works at all. That it has worked. It's shocking the Tyranids didn't win their fucking rebellion. This military is based on a school where you can be told not to kill somebody, do it, and then nothing happens. There's no consequence, despite the fact that in a military structure you were told not to do something and you did it in front of your teacher and went, how was I supposed to know?
If no one had said anything, obviously, and this had happened, it would be different. But the teachers, like...
If he'd been punished, I would have been fine with it.
Well, but no, the teachers, like, established the rules, what you can and can't use. Imogen uses her powers on the mat.
Yeah, and there's no real consequence for it.
Yeah, and there's no, like, you can disobey your superior officers with absolutely no... comeuppance.
Like Dane should be, so Dane Atos, her best friend, who's the worst, he is all about the rules. He is about the rules so much that he wouldn't even break them to save Violet's life. This dude sucks. He should be having a daily conniption. He should be losing his mind at everybody all the time. But he only ever gets upset with Violet. He's never upset with anybody else.
No, that's not true. He yells at a lot of different people, but he just doesn't do anything about it. So I'm assuming they're not allowed to punish one another.
But he can just kill them if he wants. He's not allowed to punish them, but if he were to run them through with a spear, that would be fine.
Yeah. It's a little meh. But the book does get better when we hit the threshing.
Yeah, it does.
And the threshing is very cool. They have to walk across this like giant plateau where all the dragons are basically like checking them out.
So the threshing is in three parts.
Oh,
really.
sorry. Yes.
But
yes,
I want to take a step back first to set up the threshing. When we first cross the parapet, Violet gets across. She fucks up her knee. She's always wrapping her shit. We're not going to talk about it because it's constant and it never impacts her really. But we meet some dragons.
Yeah.
We meet Scale, but it's Scale.
Scale. Yeah.
Scale is blue dragon, which is one of the best dragons.
Blue dagger tail,
I think so. And Scale is Zayden's big bad dragon.
Yeah.
And Scale gives Violet a like real piercing gaze.
Yeah, looks at her real good.
The book wants us to know that they're gonna fuck at some point.
Her and the dragon, damn.
And well, I mean, kind of mentally, but
kind of, yeah.
So
we
meet the dragons there, and the book establishes really early on that the scale of the dragons in this book doesn't make sense. But
They're
don't worry about it.
Massive.
And there's too many. There's too many dragons. Like for any realm of logic, there's too many dragons.
Nerdy was very concerned about how much these dragons are eating and where they're getting it from. But we're not going to get into that because the book doesn't mention it, so it's not important.
We find out that this year's dragon presentation at the threshing is the smallest amount of dragons ever presented.
At what, 130?
At 100 dragons.
Oh, right.
Or I think it's like 106 or something.
No, originally, wasn't it like 100 and something? And then they're like, near the threshing, they're like, only 100 dragons. And we're like, wait, that's less.
Yeah.
Anyways,
no, it's because that's 37 less than last year.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is a Harry Potter reference.
Right, yeah.
Because they're like, the 37 less than last year is very funny.
Yes.
She's referencing the bad book.
The bad book?
Harry Potter.
Oh, you, like, just as a series?
Well, it's the first one, but yeah. Fuck J.K. Rowling, is what I'm saying.
Wait. Oh no. Okay, I was like,
why did
wait
that
a
freak
second.
so much?
I was like, the first one was good.
I'm not speaking to its quality.
No. Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
So they get to the presentation, at which point they walk past 100 dragons,
who are very judgmental.
Which would, like the flight deck or whatever, the flight field or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It would have to be
giant.
Miles.
Giant.
Like,
yes.
Because there is
it's like 5 football fields, I'm assuming.
The period after this book, before the third years graduate, there are, in the vicinity of this school, over 300 dragons just chilling.
Yeah.
Just hanging out, ready to fly at a moment's notice.
They have a lot of land. It's like Canada.
But it's 300 dragons. And they're huge.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine how they're feeding them. I can't process.
This is where Nerdy's autism comes out.
Well, and if you think about, okay.
It's like, I have to understand how the magical dragons
So they've been doing this for like 600 years, right?
500, I believe.
Something like that. So say most dragon riders don't live very long lives. Let's say the average life expectancy of a dragon rider is 40.
Yeah, sure.
And you have a dragon for 17 years.
Yeah.
You're telling me that this kingdom of Navarre has 2,000 dragons?
Probably, yeah.
And that's just the bonded ones.
Yeah.
2,000 bonded dragons, plus all the feather tails, plus all the non-bonded dragons. Based on what fucking ecology are you feeding these giant fucking war machines?
I told you this.
The book is like, I was like, okay, there's going to be like 13 dragon riders. Her class has 76 people bond. 76. Yeah. That's so many fucking people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so many dragons. And I was like, how is Navarre not won every war ever? You have thousands of dragons. You don't need infantry. You can field 200 dragons as your fighting force. Why would you send people on foot? You can send 200 dragons.
And you just
and
burn
that's
it all.
a tenth of your army.
Yeah.
You could fly around the nation with 200 dragons, kill whoever the fuck you want. Griffins? You think some fucking griffins are going to fight 200 dragons who have magic? 200 dragons. There's 300 dragons in a school.
Yeah.
Why is Navarre not king of the planet? Who could fight them? We have nukes. We couldn't fight 2,000 dragons. We would lose. Some of the dragon riders can shoot lightning bolts.
True.
Some of them
One
can
of them.
control shadows in the size of a town. Like, there is no world in which they should have an infantry. Xaden can wipe out the entire infantry by thinking about it.
Yeah.
The power scaling of this series is so bonkers. Like, the Griffins have to be the most god tier fucking Griffins because no fucking Griffin is going toe to toe with a dragon.
Maybe they're really big griffins.
Like, there should be 70 Griffins to each dragon in order for it to make any fucking sense.
Unless the griffins are very large.
But the Griffins don't have a range attack, and the fucking dragons barbecue them from 500 feet.
Yeah, that's fair.
The dragons can sit on a perch, and as the Griffins try and attack, they just... Oh, I won. Oh,
Yeah.
Violet, I missed one. Can you shoot it with a lightning bolt?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
There's too many dragons. Like, she fucked up. There's too many dragons. When we get to book 5 and all the dragons have to fight, there's just going to be too many fucking dragons.
Yeah, that's going to be basically the equivalent of a nuclear bomb.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Like-
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Especially because her husband is apparently flew Apache helicopters in
Wow.
one of the Middle Eastern wars and is a
Damn.
veteran. Thank you for your service. And so I think that one of the reasons why the flight stuff really works in the book is he helped design some of the aerial combat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very fun.
And I did feel that, and I good on her for leaning on that resource. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
God.
I do think that
Yeah.
in the second half of the book, when the book is interesting and really the pacing is a lot better, I do think that the flight stuff. Weirdly, the flight stuff is when the book made the most sense, and I do think that his influence on that is awesome. I love a couple that has a good relationship and has 6 fucking kids and is able to do that together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so they have the pre-threshing, which is all the dragons stare at these kids in a field and will just light you on fire if they don't like something about you. That's about it. They can just light you up if they wanna. No big deal. No one tells a dragon what to do.
Well, they're too valuable. Even if you wanted to, they're too valuable a resource. Like the
Yeah.
idea of with how callously they treat children in this series.
Yeah.
The idea of getting mad at a dragon because you lost someone that you already viewed as disposable.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The green dragons get all up in Violet's business, and she's like, "Oh, I'm dead."
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they're sniffing her, and she's like, "Oh, the scales.
Yeah.
My sister bonded your friend, so maybe don't let me die." And they don't. The really annoying person in their crew, whose name I don't remember, dies. He is talking shit about the dragons, and they're like, "Pfft," and he's dead.
Oh, he was the one who couldn't make a decision. He's
No,
do I
no,
go?
that one
Do I-"
died.
That one died as
And
well.
so that was the front one of her, because she's in fourth. The book's called Fourth Wing because she's in Fourth Wing. The indecisive guy at the front died because he couldn't make a decision
and
if
then
they should keep going or
the
not.
rude guy that started with a
Behind
T
her.
also
Yeah.
died. Yes, remember
Oh,
that.
it's a T. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
remember his name.
Half Violet's wings starts shit talking the dragons. Yeah. And they're like, shut the fuck up because he literally gets roasted alive because he's like, the dragons, whatever. Bad idea, dude. I don't know. That's on you. That's you just being fucking stupid. I don't know why. Anyways, so that's the pre-threshing where they they're meat cute.
The
I
presentation.
Guess. Yeah. And then on threshing day they have to climb the crazy American Ninja Warrior wipeout set to get to the field where they then
They climb the gauntlet to get to the presentation. The field
Don't
is a
they have
separate
to
thing. No, they
climb
have to
the-
climb the gauntlet to get to presentation. So because their group's time on the gauntlet is the order in which they go through the presentation.
Right.
And that's so.
I finished this book 3 weeks ago.
The dragons watch. So Violet can't climb the vertical wall, which is just. I get it. You watched American Ninja Warrior. You could have changed it a little bit. Because the thing that stopped a lot of American Ninja Warrior contestants, I know you've never seen it, but is that the final obstacle was this 14-foot wall that you would have to run up. It's like, it like starts with like a slight slope and then...
Yeah, okay.
And being able to climb the vertical wall was the reason why for a while, like no woman had been able to complete the American Ninja Warrior. And it was rad. The first woman who accomplished it was awesome. Like it was a really cool moment for the show.
Yeah.
And I was watching it live because I was a little bit Ninja Warrior obsessed. I wish the show I wish the book hadn't just straight up it's the vertical wall from it. Like it is just American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
But at the moment of her like using her knife to climb it, it worked. Like it was and the fact that she's bleeding and the dragons are like, why are you bleeding all over our field?
Yeah, again, it is one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, Violet is smart. I believe that, right? She does come up with solutions to problems in a way that works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, and Amber is real upset that she cheated.
Yeah.
And is like,
Amber
cheated.
Is another wing leader.
And Zayden is like, did she? And Violet is like, look, anything... So Violet... So you're not allowed to take anything onto the gauntlet that isn't you. It has to be just you. And there is language in the Rider's Codex that says anything you carry across the parapet will be a part of you. The language basically allows for her to say that this knife, because she didn't... When you win fights in Rider School, you get knives.
Yeah.
Truly the kind of weapon that a Dragon Rider would need. I don't...
They come in useful. They're easier to strap to yourself. I get it.
Sure.
You're not going to strap 17 spears to yourself.
No, there's not a lot of combat that you're going to get into from Dragonback that I feel like you're going to be using a knife for. Right?
To fight another Dragon Rider? Why not?
Why would you use a knife?
Because they're easier to attach a bunch of them to your body.
Oh, sure. But knives aren't like... Knives are war weapons like as a last resort. Nobody is like, she needs a sword. She needs like a thin, longer blade that's on her back. She needs like a needle or something pokey that's got a little bit of range. Because if you're gonna fight...
You can't throw a sword though.
But if you're fucking standing on a dragon fighting while it's flying, you're not throwing a dagger because the wind on top of the dragon is you're not gonna hit anything.
Yeah, but if the dragons lock like up in combat and like you could throw something.
I think that if you were to stand on top of an airplane and throw a knife, you're not going to hit a fucking thing. The chances of you lodging a knife in another armored participant of a dragon fight while standing on a flying dragon, it would be almost insurmountable. You just need something that's like this long, thin, and poke. You need to keep distance and poke and use advantage to push someone back. The idea that you're going to get into a knife fight on top of a dragon while it's in the air is fucking insane to me.
I guess. It's just you can only carry one sword, whereas like you can carry... I don't know. Violet has literally like 12 knives on her somehow.
Sure, but you still have to get into knife range, and I just... Especially because of signets and things, I feel like the way in which you would use
the knives are very important when they have to fight the Venom.
Those knives are. Yeah, no, and I agree. But the knives are also pointless in that fight because the Venom can use a magic that means that if you walk within 30 feet of them, you die instantly. So even in that case, the knives, not great. I don't know why the Venom don't always just turn on the bubble of death magic, but we'll probably learn more about the Venom magic later. What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
When they're fighting the Venom is like sucking up all of the life out of the ground.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who it is that runs into like the field of grass that's withered, but they like die fucking instantly and their dragon dies instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the
Venom... They're not walking around like that. Like they're actively like casting a ritual.
Sure. If you're a Venom and you're in a fight, I don't know why you would turn that off.
I guess if you don't want to move, yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you can't move while you're doing it, fair. Yeah.
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 I mean...
No, that's fair. That's a good point.
Otherwise, it'd just be like, yes, I have a 30-foot force field around me at all times. Like, you're fucked. Like, what are you going to do about it? That is not interesting.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get to the Venom. So, the presentation happens, and there is shocker. Oh, we didn't really talk about this. There's feather tails. No one knows anything about feather tails.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different kinds of dragons. The dragons come in different colors with different tails. So there's like orange dragons, blue dragons, black dragons, green dragons, red dragons, I think.
The brown, there's a bunch.
Brown.
Her mom's is a brown.
Right, yeah, and they all have different tails. There's like club, dagger, sword.
Mace,
yeah, is that?
Yeah, mace. I think Tirnanak is a mace tail.
Mace tail? I don't remember mace tail. I thought it was
They're clubs
tail.
that have spikes.
No, I know what a mace is.
No. I know, but in the book, it's literally like they're the best of both worlds. They're great for siege, and the spikes can pierce a man.
Okay, yeah. And then there's feather tails, and apparently no one knows anything about feather tails. No one's ever seen one because they don't like violence.
Yes, that's why.
That's totally why. Don't ask any questions.
The dragons are all simultaneously in their own conspiracy to hide things from the humans, while also being aware of the humans' conspiracy, while participating in the humans' conspiracy on both sides, and working together, but also against one another, to be on whatever side of the conflict that their riders are on, even though they don't care about human politics. The next couple books are going to have to kind of dance through explaining to me what the dragons are aware of and what their opinions are on things.
Yeah, like how like what the dragons believe, what their values are as a society, how their hierarchy functions. Like I have so many questions about how all that works because right now none of that makes any sense to me.
Yes. Well, because you get into the problem of like Melgren's dragon has to be evil, right? But
or just self-serving.
Zayden's dragon, so Scale and Tirnanak are hiding.
Tern. You keep adding so many syllables.
Tirnanak. That's his name.
His name is Tern.
Well, sure, his shortened name.
Oh, you're using his full name. I was like,
I'm not adding syllables. His name is Tirnanak. But his full name isn't public.
Like the Gaelic song?
Yeah. Did you not know that all of this is Gaelic? Scale, Tirnanak, all the magic shit in this is like Gaelic. All the dragon names. Andarna.
Andarna doesn't sound Gaelic to me, but I don't know.
I'm pretty sure all of the magic in this world, and I think that one of the criticisms of Rebecca Yarros is that she used a bunch of Gaelic words for the magic stuff and then can't pronounce it. She was at like a book event and she can't pronounce it properly. And so she was like trying to say...
It's Siobhan.
Yeah. But she was like, oh yeah, my character's Sayaban. And they're like, no, that's not the exact one.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
So I want to get into Practically Incarnate. So
we should just discuss the threshing real quick,
yes.
So that we can move on from it.
Let's move on.
So they get to the threshing, and Violet goes off to try and find some dragons. Climbs a tree, bops around, blah blah blah. Runs into her arch enemy, Jack. Jack got two buddies. They're gonna go try and kill a feather-tailed dragon because at the threshing this year, for the first time in history ever, there is a feather-tail dragon at threshing. It is very small, has no teeth or claws, basically.
No, it does have teeth.
It does have teeth.
Yeah, but it has paws instead of claws. Instead of talons. Yeah.
It's very small, has no way to defend itself, and it's just kind of there, like chilling and like observing it. So Jack, in his infinite wisdom, is like, "Wow, that thing is weak. We should totally go murder this dragon." That sounds like a good idea. So him and his buddies go try and kill this very shiny gold dragon. Okay, it's very visible, easy to find. And Violet's like, well, I can't let that happen. Like, she's so cute. So she goes and she fights off Jack and the other two people that doesn't matter. They're all dead.
Well, and Zayden and Scale are watching, but they're not allowed to intervene.
Yes, the bonded riders, the higher ups, are not allowed to do anything to intervene at all during the threshing. So Zayden is there watching with Scale, and Violet is like half dead trying to defend.
Well, let's get into it though, because the first thing she does is she whips a dagger, because daggers are valid on the ground.
Yeah, for sure.
Great comment. This was the first comment this was the first like fight moment in the book that I was like, oh, that was good. Like this was the moment where I was like, oh, okay, solid, that was like a cool. She whips out her first dagger and it catches Jack in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And so he can't move his arm, so he fucks off. He just runs
away like a little bitch.
And then she fights his two cronies, one of whom was in her class. Was in her section, the flame. She's in fourth wing flame section 2 or some shit. So the one of her own squad mates turns on her here, and so she fights them off and nearly dies. But Ternenak, the big ass black dragon, it hasn't been a black dragon bonded in a while.
Yeah, so his last rider died, and no one's really seen him since. It's been a few years, but he is like, other than Melgan's dragon, he's like the biggest, baddest boss bitch.
And his last rider died trying to perform a magical ritual to bring Brennan back to life.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
so, because his last rider was gay and wanted to fuck Brennan, and I'm assuming maybe not, but Rhiannon's gay, so no, the bisexual thing was, I was very shocked by it because Rebecca Yarros is Mormon. And I was like, oh, bisexuals.
Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson could never. And
he does, he just doesn't want to say it out loud.
I don't think there's any bisexuals in.
I'm telling you, Shallan is a raging bisexual, and I will fight you on that until the day that I die.
Okay.
Like, the first thing she notices about Yasna is, like, her titties and how hot she is. Like, I'm sorry. That's...
Sure, but that's just, like, women being written by men. But, so Ternanak shows up. They fuck those boys up. And Violet bonds with Ternanak.
Who happens to be Scale's mated partner, which is why he shows up, because Scale is there watching with Xaden.
And so this is the point where I wish, instead of having Dane be a piece of shit, Dane and Violet had a really good relationship going that was headed towards something sexual, so that there was some conflict here. The bonded mate thing is so fun if it's like forbidden love. Right? But the book has to twist itself into knots for it to be forbidden love, and that like Xaden is mad at her because what her mom did, and she's mad at him because of what his dad did, but neither of them are ever actually mad at each other for anything the other person did. It's never about, until the end of the book when, Xaden, the truth comes out.
Yeah.
These two characters have to like invent reasons to not like each other based on other people's actions.
Well, to be fair, Xaden's like, I'm gonna kill you.
Sure, but even that isn't about her in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
It's just because of who her mom is. And so if Violet and Dane weren't already on the outs because Dane sucks so much, and Violet was like, fuck, I'm bonded to this dragon, I'm bonded to Xaden in a weird way, but I want to fuck Dane, and that gets fucked up by these feelings, you know what I mean? Like, and there's like a push and pull between the two boys at this point. It would have been great. But because she already fucking hates Zane, she's already been talking about Dane. She's already talking about fucking Xaden every single time he's on page.
Yeah.
She's literally like, my panties are the fucking Nile, and I want him to part the river like Moses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's no tension in who she's going to choose. And so when the dragons bond and they're bonded mates, I'm like, I guess this just makes it easier, not, this is a complication.
Yeah, 100%.
It actually kind of uncomplicates the situation a little bit.
Yeah.
Because for the rest of the book, they're like, oh my God, like, we cannot sleep together because we have to spend the rest of our lives together. And I was like,
that makes so much sense, I guess.
I feel like falling in love would actually make your lives easier since you're bonded to one another.
That's just me personally.
They're like, we can't admit that we've fallen for each other because we have to spend forever together. And I was like, that's not how that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So threshing ends, and Violet goes to tell them that she's bonded Taryn, and Darna, which is the gold dragon, is like, and also me, bitch. And everybody's like, huh? And then like the chapter hard cuts. And we're like, wait, we actually don't get to see anybody's reaction to this at all, which...
No, we do, because the next chapter is the immediate aftermath.
Of that chapter? No.
Isn't it?
No. It's the next day, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, the dragons are going to meet up.
No.
And decide if
it's not
this
the
is
next
fine.
day.
I thought that was like a hard chapter cut.
It is a hard chapter cut, but the next page is like the next moment. They don't leave the field after that.
Maybe I was thinking of something else.
What is the chapter where that happens?
Good question. I don't know.
Keep talking. Be interesting. I'll be right back.
Great, yeah. Does no, that happens afterwards. Yeah, so Violet is the first person to bond two dragons, and one is a Feathertail, and everyone's freaking the fuck out. But the dragons, the Empyrean, are going to meet, or the meeting is the Empyrean. We're actually not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, so sorry. Page 178 of the hardcover. Both dragon she squawks, I nod, and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
But the next like word is absolutely not when General shouts loud enough that I can hear all the way from the little medical station that's been set up at the end of the bleachers for riders. So like she
okay.
goes to the med station.
Yeah, okay,
but like
never
they
mind.
haven't left the field.
I think it was something else.
Yeah.
Oh, it was when they steal the map. That's when it's a hard cut.
Oh, yeah.
Right, we don't get anyone's reactions except that there is a reaction. Sorry. Anyways,
I like that Fabu Moose, what's up, Fabu, says, while Fuck Dane merch makes up at least 10% of Fourth Wing merch, Fuck Jack merch makes up the other 15%.
yeah, no, I get that. Piece of shit.
Yeah.
Glad that he's dead. Spoiler alert, because we're covering the whole book. Yeah, so they're like, the dragons are going to decide if this is allowed and not us. That's not our prerogative. Turns out when you bond a dragon, they're like in your brain. They can see all your thoughts. They can hear you. They know everything.
Yeah.
And you would think that because of this, right?
Yeah.
That Jack, when he bonded a dragon, would have been incinerated, right? Because that dragon would have been like, wait, you tried to kill
a
baby dragon, which we find out that a Feathertail is actually a baby dragon. You would think that Jack's dragon would be like, wait a second, you just tried to kill a baby that we all collectively work really hard to protect. In fact, no human has ever seen one before now.
No, they've seen them, but they haven't. Yeah.
No, I don't even.
No, they know they exist.
They know they exist. I don't think they've literally
non-violent.
ever been seen.
No,
no one knows what they look like.
No, they do.
No.
They're but how? Okay.
No, this like gold dragon was a surprise, right? And so
they've never shown up to the threshing before, but they know that they exist.
I guess, yeah, maybe. Anyways, the fact that Jack is alive with a dragon at this point does not make any sense to me.
Well, also the Empyrean decides that she can have the Feathertail, that she can have both, right?
Yeah.
And the problem with it is, even at the end of this book, she loses time stop abilities because Andarna's grown.
Yeah.
And like,
what were they thinking?
That Empyrean doesn't just decide
everyone knows
that she can have both. They're also
Yeah.
deciding that the secret of the Feathertails is going to get out.
Exactly.
Like, and
because
so,
there's no way that anyone who's paying attention is going to be like, wait, your dragon changed.
Wait, your dragon's the only dragon we've ever seen grow.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Wait,
that
a
Feathertail
minute.
became a Daggertail.
Yeah.
Like the idea that this is going to stay a secret.
Yeah. That's why, I mean,
And they're
the
like,
dragon
we have to keep, but
politics of this are very confusing to me, and
Yes.
I really do wish that I really do wish that there was more behind the scenes of the dragon society and how it functions.
Well, but the problem with it for me is that the Andarna basically chooses for the entirety of dragon society that their secret's done. And they allow a child on a whim to be the reason why all of the work of keeping the secret for 600 years goes out the window.
Like
because a 4-year-old was like, no, I want that one.
Scale is like, if it was my child, I wouldn't have allowed her, but not my monkeys, not my circus. And
But
I'm like,
is
what?
your monkeys?
I know.
It might not be your monkey, but it is your circus.
Yeah.
And I think that's the, like, it's such a questionable, and look, I so get it. Ternanok is going to die. And Andarna is going to be Violet's dragon, right? Like the setup for that is so clear.
Yeah.
And having Violet be the only dragon rider to ever lose her dragon and live.
Yeah.
Duh, right?
Yeah.
You can see it coming from fucking 50 miles away, like a dragon. But
like a shiny gold dragon.
The world building weirdness to set up that feels so crazy to me.
And maybe they get into it in the next book. Like that is something that's totally possible. Right now, it just does not make sense.
Yeah.
And instead of it being a question that is unexplored, it does kind of feel more like a plot hole to me personally.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain things where I have questions, and I'm like, I think I'm supposed to have questions at this point, right? Like, there will be more that is revealed later. And then there's some things that feel like plot holes that were just not considered by the author. And this kind of feels weirdly more like a plot hole to me personally, just with how it is set up and revealed and all that jazz. And we might get more information later, and that I would love that. But right now, I'm like,
that the dragons are like, hey, this is starting to come out anyway.
Yeah.
Like, if the dragons are all in on it, maybe. But it really does feel like it just does feel like this book is like, yeah, this child decided that the secret isn't a secret anymore.
Yeah.
So Blige Monkey says, so did that writer bring Brennan back, or is that whole story a lie?
Yeah, which is a great question. I have a feeling that the writer who tried to bring Brennan back was actually killed by venin, and they just couldn't, like was some kind of fucked up magic, right, that they didn't want to release to the public. And so the official story is that he died trying to bring back another writer, because everyone knows, obviously, that ended in failure.
I think that he died using his magic to hide Brennan's... To get rid of the Brennan's body and the dragon body, so that Brennan could get away and keep the rebellion alive.
Oh, interesting.
Like, I think that I think what we're going to find out is that writer was going to die and used... Because we have to have a reason why Brennan is alive at the end of this book.
Yeah.
And the reason for that has to have something to do with the fact that they believe that Brennan died.
Yeah.
Right? And that his dragon died.
Yeah.
Because... Unless Brennan's dragon is in the Veil pretending to be unbonded, right?
Maybe.
Like, there's a version of it where Brennan's dragon is like, yeah, I'm really sad about Brennan's death. It's so tragic that my rider died. Whatever will I do?
Sad, yeah.
But he has to be lying to all the other dragons, because, again, all the other dragons have to know something or not, or like, yeah, what the fucking dragons know is so wild, and like why the dragons would care about human politics is so crazy. Unless Melgren's dragon is being like magically controlled or something. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah. But yes, there has to be a reason why they believe Brennan to be dead, even though they don't have his body. And I don't know if that the dead rider's magic allowed him to keep Brennan's body in stasis for a bit until he could break out and leave, or if he, cast a spell to look like he brought Brennan back. Yeah. That was like this, enough witnesses saw this pillar of fire and light consume Brennan's body, so he has to be dead. Right. But he actually just, it's snuck out the back door and. Yeah. Yeah. So Jonathan O'Neill says, the little excuse to give it some okay is that they hoped she would age while away from school. What after that, though, she shows up with a new adult dragon, which looks very different.
People will, you can't keep that secret for very long.
And the people she's away from, she's not going away from school on her own. She's gonna be in a squad of people. Like,
squad's gonna know. They'll be like, wow,
that she has a feather tail.
Dragon looks really different today. What the fuck happened?
Your dragon is growing a dagger. Like,
yeah. Again, have no idea what the tails actually look like, but yeah. Yeah, so we find out that when you bond, you get in people's head, you get in your dragon's head, you can hear each other's thoughts. There is a way to work on that so that you can kind of
Which they should have started earlier, right?
Should have probably
Why aren't they building
earlier.
The mind palaces pre-bonding?
I have a feeling it's literally so that the dragons can... The dragons are like, you're not allowed to teach this before we bond, because if we bond and we don't like what we see in their brains, then we reserve the right to fucking murder them.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, you would think that mental fortification would be essential.
You think they would just meditate, though? You would think they would work on some kind of, like, especially in a world where there are, like, brain magics. That the Griffin Riders might have. Yeah. We haven't really talked about the Griffin Riders much. They're not in the book very much. But Griffins can also give their people magic.
Yeah, so when you bond a dragon, you get the ability to use magic. You get a cool ass tattoo.
Yeah. And you can do wards and prestidigitation.
Yeah, like super basic like cantrips.
And very complicated warding magic.
Yeah. And then you get
the magic system is like mundane shit, and you can also leave permanent wards on things. It's very easy to do, and you learn it very early on, but nothing in between. Like it seems like two very different schools of magic.
Yeah. And then every rider gets like one big magic thing that they can do
Their
that
signet
is related to who they are as a person.
Can I say my favorite part of the book?
Sure.
We find out, so you have to release your signet within 6 months or else you explode, which is hilarious.
I know.
You also might explode while releasing your signet. One guy self-immolates.
Yeah.
I think another guy freezes himself to death.
Probably.
And one guy is like, hey, I can read all your minds. And then the signet teacher who like teaches magic, Carr, walks over and just snaps his neck.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, we don't allow mind readers here.
That was like one of the few moments in the book where I was like, that was fucking rad.
Yeah.
It was my favorite, like, because so much of the book feels kind of derivative to other series and other ideas. That was a moment where I was like, that was the kind of brutal efficiency of the military that I buy into.
Yeah.
It was one of the moments where this felt like a fascist militaristic regime in a way that I thought was really strong.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a short scene that was so effective, said so much about society and about these characters and about Carr.
Yeah.
And I wish the book had more tidbits like that, because it was that good. It made up for some of the weaker world building choices in the book, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that moment was really well done. Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah.
So the Violet starts to go through the process of changing her whole life to revolve around Xaden. Xaden
is like, hey, so here's the deal. If you die, it means your dragon probably dies. Taryn dies. And if Taryn dies, he's bonded to Scale, which means probably she dies. And if she dies, I die.
Because the more dragons bond, the deeper their bonds get.
Yeah.
So like
the longer you're bonded.
Yeah, so the first time a dragon bonds, it's not as powerfully bonded. But like Taryn has bonded multiple times, and so at this point, if he lost, because dragons can live without their riders, but riders can't live without their dragons unless a dragon has bonded multiple riders they've lost, and like the
even that's not
grief of loss
guaranteed.
Compounds to.
But even that's not guaranteed, right? People try and kill Violet to try and bond with Taryn instead, right?
Because it's early days when the bond hasn't solidified.
Yes.
There's like a window where the bond isn't like fully attached.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting concept. I like the idea of the like
because a bunch of people
layers of grief and how they add up.
Sure.
You know, you don't scrape away one grief and replace it with another.
Yeah.
It is more grief. It's just more grief.
Because there's people who bond and then fly on the dragon and like can't
Die
stay on and
immediately,
just fall off and die.
Like Violet.
Yeah.
Except Taryn keeps catching her because he's so nice.
Yes.
Also, Taryn, so no dragon would ever supplicate themselves to a human. But Taryn does like turn their leg into a ramp so that Violet can scurry up it. And everyone is like, oh my God, your dragon is like so weak. And Taryn's like, don't listen to them.
Actually.
Don't listen to them, Violet.
Yeah.
I don't fucking care what people think. I'm 100 years old.
Honestly, yeah, he gives absolutely no fucks about.
I want Jeremy Irons to voice Taryn in the movie or in the TV show.
That would be incredible, honestly. Yeah, so they are starting to train how to fly on the dragons.
How to train your dragon.
How to train your dragon. Yeah. Except you don't train the dragon trains you.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. You start learning how to use your magics and all that stuff. And there is, we get to the start of, is this part of the war games when they steal the map? Is that like?
That's way later. We got some stuff to get through first. The first thing we have to get to?
Yeah.
There's a night. Late at night.
Gosh.
Liam has been put in charge of guarding Violet all the time, and he's doing it late at night.
Liam is a good friend of Xaden's.
Some smooth jazz starts playing in Violet's mind library.
Jesus.
And as that smooth jazz starts rocking, I
thought you were going.
No. Smooth jazz. Stop ruining the mood. It's smooth jazz time late at night as, a little careless whisper starts playing. And deep in her mind palace, Violet realizes that Ternanok and Scale do be fucking.
Yeah.
Those dragons are on the flight field just destroying each other's bodies.
Yeah.
And Violet gets so unbelievably horny that she runs outside and she finds Xaden leaning against a wall getting high and he's smoking the devil's lettuce and he's like, do you want some devil's lettuce? It helps with how horny our fucking dragons are. And she's like, no, I just want to jump your bones And Zayden's like, you cannot jump my bones because your mother killed my father and my father killed your brother. And that is literally the only problem between us because we actually like each other a lot and we have very complementary personalities.
To be fair, he's like, actually, it's not really your feelings right now, so that'd be really
That hasn't happened yet. Stop
weird.
ruining the mood. And so he's like, no, we're going to smoke the devil's lettuce together. And she's like, no, kiss me, Zayden. And he's like, okay. And he lays his lips upon her quivering lips and they jump each other on the wall and she plants her thighs on either side of his hips. And you might be like, this is the most you've ever described anything that happened in the book. And yes, that's because this is also the most Rebecca Yarros has described anything that happens in the book.
That is
This
true.
is the first time she's ever put pen to paper and actually told us what the fuck things look like and what the fuck was happening. And Zayden's abs are so cut that she can feel them on her thighs through his leathers that look like
His
something.
side abs?
Yeah, his obliques, they are abdominal muscles. And so they make out furiously and she's like, it's time, Zayden.
So her legs are at his rib Sure, yeah. Yeah, that works. They were
When-
on his hips. Your obliques are not down here. They're up here. It's fine. Continue.
No, it's fine. You know what? The joke's kind of dead. Thank you for that.
No,
I
it's
do
great.
I
It was
do
great.
love that I was like doing a bit and you were like, what if I just did an anti-bit as much as possible? What if I just like killed it?
Well, because I need to make sure that like I'm right always. You know what I mean?
Be right then. What happens next, Clarus?
Well, they don't fuck.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Because Aiden's like, wait a minute. Actually, that's not how you feel. It's how our dragons feel. And she's like, yeah, sure, totally. I've definitely not thought about this for like 6 months or 6 weeks. Who knows, actually?
I really don't know how much time has passed.
It could be
It's
any
been
amount of time.
It's been less than a year.
It has been an amount of time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been less than a year.
Yeah.
And so they don't fuck. And you know what? Violet, being a good Mormon girl, does not smoke the devil's lettuce. Can I bring up something now that I want to talk about because I think it's weird? Rebecca Yarros keeps saying that Zayden will be a person of color in the TV show. Whatever happens in the live action, Zayden will be a person of color.
Sure.
And I do find, I just find it a little odd. Not because I'm against diversity. If you've been on not this channel, because this channel has this video and nothing else, almost nothing else. But if you follow us forever, you know, I'm pro diversity in our media. But I do think that like writing the like baddie, like weed smoking, like not trustworthy rebellious boy who has scars on his 107 scars on his back, I'm being like, I just want to be very clear, that person is a person of color. Is there's just something really tinged to that in my opinion.
Yeah.
And be like, I just want to be really clear, the person that everyone is kind of racist towards the whole book, it will feel racist in live action because they will not be white.
Yeah.
The person who tries to get the innocent white girl to smoke marijuana, that person will not be white. I want to be really clear. There's just a number of times in this book where I was reading it and I was like, it is strange to me how adamant she is that Zayden is not white.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that like this takes place in like fantasy England. And
Why do you say that?
because the magic comes from like the valley where all the dragons have like Gaelic names. It's an island with a lot of cliffs.
So it's Ireland? What?
I mean, sure, fantasy UK. You know what I mean? Like, it's
all right.
but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that like it's a 1-to-1, but Navarre is clearly the British Empire.
Sure.
Right? Like that's just and then like
I don't know why that's clear.
Primorials are Scotland, and then the Vale, the like place where the magic comes from, is like Ireland. It's like where the like or Wales and Ireland it's where all the like fairy tale like the leprechaun and all that stuff comes from, this like weird valley that they don't go into, but it's like part of their kingdom but isn't.
Sure.
It's just so steeped in. It is so steeped in sort of like medieval Englandry, in my opinion. And so for her to be like in my version of fantasy UK, the kid that has been like had his back whipped 107 times, or I don't know how he's scarred. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
I just want to be very clear that that's a person of color. It's just it's weird to me.
Yeah. Monk, I don't actually think he is ever described as a person of color. In the book, it is just something that Rebecca Yarros has said about the TV show.
Oh, no, I agree with that. The book doesn't establish that he's a person of color.
Yeah.
Her like press tour is that he will be a person of color.
Yeah.
That he is not white. And it is so odd to me that despite the fact that he's not described that way in this book, and maybe he is in future books, right? Like maybe she describes a skin color at some point in the series, which I don't think you need to. I'm fine with not describing skin tones. Let the audience make them whatever skin tone you want. I'm actually okay with that. Sorry. I'm going to pull this up because I want to make sure that I'm quoting her right.
Sure. Yeah, go for it. Fabu, thank you for that super chat. Do you think dragons soak and jump hump? No, dragons have no requirements for your silly mortal boundaries. Definitely not. Also, Nerdy calling Ireland as a whole part of the UK and lumping in Wales and Ireland is going to cause an international incident. No, I know. That's why I was sitting here being like,
I'm not going to... No, I'm not fucking putting up with this. This idea that every single time you bring up Ireland in the UK that you have to give a 5-minute nuanced diatribe to explain all the complications of it.
No, you said... You were like, yeah, England with all the Gaelic names and stuff. And I was like, that's where I was confused.
Okay, look, I'm sorry that I did not take the time to make sure that my sentence was 12 sentences to explain what I meant. You all knew what I meant.
You just said Ireland.
But it isn't Ireland. It is very importantly not Ireland because the magic comes from Ireland, but the characters are the British Empire. Like, it's really important to understand that, like, the way in which she's writing the series or this book, it could change, it might get more nuanced and adapt and grow a little bit.
Yeah.
Right now, the King of Navarre is not the King of Ireland. Mm-hmm. He is a normal, mortal, non-magical person who is the king of a fascist, very like uncaring and sociopathic empire, which is the Britain of it. And then the magic is the like pull from Welsh and from Ireland and from the like subcultures of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Right. And I am aware that I know that Ireland is a separate thing. I'm very aware of that. That's not what this podcast is about.
They're just gonna come knocking. That's all.
No, if the Irish need me to fucking explain that to them, go watch a YouTube channel that makes better content than this. Other people will be much more eloquent. The Irish don't give a fuck. They know I love them, and I don't like the British. No one is more anti-monarch than me. The Irish and I will get along just fine. So Rebecca Yarros said, my one non-negotiable for a fourth wing, my only non-negotiable is that Xaden isn't white.
Yeah.
It's just that's a weird hill to die on in this series to me, given that you've made him the
tortured like baddie character. Yeah. Yeah,
who's
it
like
does seem
so
odd.
Who is so like fetishized by this white girl.
Well,
you know
and
what I
not
mean?
just
Like,
by her, by like kind of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look,
that's an interesting one.
You can make the argument that like it turns out that his rebellion is correct and that he's on the right side of it. He is, and he's the best character.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't have a problem with him being a person of color.
Yeah, but the non-negotiable of it is very interesting.
It's that it's like the fetishization of that in this Smut series that I find very strange.
Yeah.
In a way that I feel like I've put words to, or was going to put words to until you wanted to go off on an Ireland tangent. But you can
say what you need to say.
Apparently I can. Apparently I need to make
a
video essay about the...
I'm just going to make fun of you. That's all.
Sure.
Yeah. You can say whatever you like.
Go for it. All right. What's next?
Not sure. What is next?
Great. So they don't have sex. Liam and Imogen, who when she breaks her shoulder the first time and Nolan heals her, Imogen is the one that comes in and shatters her shoulder.
Yeah. Imogen doesn't like Violet either because of the whole rebellion thing.
Imogen Oh my God, we skipped over such an important detail of this book.
Oh, that they murder the parents in front of the children?
Nope, not that. But that is also in it. There is a point when Violet first starts cheating to fight the challenges where she goes and picks poisonous berries. And when she's doing that, she overhears Xaden and the other marked ones conspiring in the woods about how to help the marked ones achieve the threshing and survive. And this is the first time we kind of realize Xaden is a good dude, where he's just trying to take care of his people in a situation where they're basically like being forced to fight to the death in a school that hates them for racist reasons. So they not racist because it's the tattoo, but Rebecca Yaros being like, my only non-negotiable is that Xaden isn't white makes it a race thing to me.
Fair.
And I really hope the show doesn't do the Navarrans are white and are black, but whatever.
Yeah.
So
well, they're all part of the same country. It's just a different like province. Like the Tirish Rebellion was just, they were like separated by a range, so they're still like
but her non-negotiable is that Xaden isn't white.
Yeah.
Again, that's what's weird about it, right? That's where the like, what does this mean comes from.
Yeah.
So she Violet overhears, Xaden catches her listening, and he's like, you better not tell anyone, and she doesn't.
Yeah, and she's like, why would I? It seems like you're just trying to help out people that like that need some help.
100%. And so cut to where we're at. There is a level of trust between Xaden and Violet going into her new relationship with Imogen, who starts training her relationship with Liam, in that Xaden knows that she is at the very least not anti-marked kids. Yeah. Right? She has kept their secrets, and she doesn't like her mom either. Honestly, the fact that they have a conflict between them at all gets weird, because they seem to just get along the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, they just seem to have a fine relationship that they will then, like, say dialogue that they're, like, not able to trust each other, even though they've shown... All of their actions in the book show that they trust each other.
I think they just like being antagonistic.
Mm-hmm.
Like they both enjoy that, like, sniping at one another, you know?
Yeah. Lightblind Fool says, never read Fourth Wing. On a scale of 1 to Smut Corner, how smutty is it? Smut Corner. Like, full-on Smut Corner.
Yeah.
You will read the word clit a lot.
Yeah, definitely. She's horny the entire time.
He fingers her clit, and then he licks her clit, and then when he's fucking her, he hits her clit every time.
Yeah.
She's like, he positioned himself so that he hit my clit.
Which...
Can I find it?
I mean, yeah, because I didn't... Maybe I didn't read it right, but I'm like, the clit's on the outside. I don't think... Maybe she meant G-spot. I don't
know.
Damn, that's talent, I guess. Yeah, no, definitely pretty smutty, for sure. Especially because, like, I swear, like, 30% of this book is just the main character thirsting over Xaden. So that, to me, does get to be a bit much. On a 1 to 5 peppers, I'd give it a 2 to 3. Yeah, somewhere in the, like, 50-50. Like,
what the fuck is a 5 in your world?
Where it's, like, all about the sex only, and it's just sex the whole time. Like...
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of books that have a lot more sex in them. This has like 2 actual sex scenes. But...
Sure, but I don't think the sex can get much more explicit.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, same. He grips my hips, lifting me for a better angle, and the head of his cock rubs against my clit. I gasp and his eyes lock with mine. The hunger I see etched in every tense line of his body is my undoing. I don't care if it damns us. I need him. No more holding back. Not anymore. I reach between us, guiding the head of his cock to my entrance, but this position is shit.
Fair. Sometimes just, you just got to find different positions.
Where is the line where...
I don't know.
I gasp at the fit, the stretch.
Sure.
I'm trying to find... There's a line where he's like, he adjusts so that he can hit my clit every time, and it made me chuckle.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me, but sure.
Oh my God, this goes on for I forgot how many pages this goes on for.
Well, but that's what I mean. Like, the longest scenes are the smut ones. They're the most, like, detailed description. Like nothing else is described in this book except the fucking.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
like, yeah, if that's what you're there for, that's awesome. Love that for you. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna find it right now.
That's fine.
So they fuck later. Don't worry about it. So yeah, they start training. And then this is where the book, to me, there's a brief period of the book here where we get into like the book kind of like stops doing anything else except getting to them fucking. And so they ultimately do fuck. It is a long scene. It's after they have to play a war game, and Violet unleashes her signet and kills Jack. So Jack kills Liam. No, not Liam. Jack tries to kill Liam.
Yeah, so they are playing a game and capture the flag, basically. But it's like one team has a flag and the other has an egg. They have to like try and get the other thing while protecting their own thing. And Jack, in the middle of this, takes the opportunity to deliberately try and murder Liam because Liam is marked, is close to Violet, close to Xaden.
I really like this action sequence.
It's great.
Yeah. I thought that there was a lot of motion to it. I thought the pacing of it was really nice. I thought the emotional lead up to Liam saving Violet into him. I thought all of that was really, really strong. Yeah.
This scene plays out really well because Liam is about to die. He's falling and about to die when she uses Andarna's time stop power.
We forgot to. No, we skipped over the first time she uses it.
Yeah, we did.
Fuck!
I just realized that. I was like, oh, right.
Amber tries to kill her in the middle of the night with like 7 kids.
Yeah, which is forbidden. You can't try and attack somebody while they're sleeping, but Amber
I should have taken notes. We're all over the place on this podcast.
Yeah, it's fine. But like takes down the wards to let in the kids to go kill Violet. Violet gets woken up from her like dream, and Xaden shows up and saves her, but she uses Andarna's time stop power by accident to move through the room and buy herself enough time to survive.
Because Feathertails have magic that they grow out of.
Yeah, but that super
they're
powerful.
able to give to you that isn't a signet.
Yeah, it doesn't come from the person, it comes from the dragon.
Yeah.
But that does mean that the dragon is in danger of like burning out and dying if you use too much of it and take too much of it.
I really thought in the final fight we were going to get much closer to Andarna dying.
Yeah.
And now obviously she can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought that like the last time she used it was going to almost kill Andarna, but it didn't, which is fine. PT says not enough description in the podcast. Fuck you, Pete. So Xaden saves her at that, and then they go and they do the Amber gets fucking Xaden the next morning accuses Amber, and Amber gets fucking murdered.
Yeah, because Dane can read her thoughts literally just by touching her face. And so it is pretty clear what the truth is, that she helped try and get Violet murdered, which is against the... It's not signet.
The codex.
Codex, thank you. So yeah, Amber is like basically like top tier wing leader. You can't in the school. You can't really go much above that point. Yeah, she gets fucking killed. They don't fuck around.
Wait, we have to get into this. One of the weird things about this book that made me chuckle so hard is that one of the ways that these characters all identify themselves throughout the book is they have all these patches. And there's a point where I was like, why doesn't Violet know these? Like, she studied fucking everything. She's a nerd. Nerds love to know shit like what patches mean. And the book reveals that the patches are different every year. And so it implies that there's somebody who's making all these fucking patches every year. Every year. Somebody is like,
that is a government job. You know what I mean? Like, that is like, you are like tenured in.
But there are like,
with benefits.
There are 130 new kids, so they get their cadet patch. There are like, so everyone needs their wing patch, and everyone needs their section patch, and everyone needs their squad patch. So that's like 400 patches, and then you have your signet patches.
Has a patch which you don't actually have to wear if you don't want to.
I was like, who is sewing thousands and thousands and thousands of patches?
Gotta keep people employed.
that iron onto leather?
Yeah, Navarra does not have an unemployment problem.
But and we talked about this off podcast, but I was like, the book never mentions any support staff.
Yeah.
Because like we know that Violet goes to breakfast duty for a while, and so she's like helping, but the chefs are never mentioned. The cleaning staff are never mentioned.
No, we meet some of the scribes because
Sure,
because she already knew them from before.
And we meet some healers.
Yeah.
But the book almost takes place in a world where like support staff just don't exist. But the support staff that are necessary for this world to function are like someone is sewing thousands of leather suits.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I just wish they had like mentioned the army of people that are required to make this place function. Mm-hmm. And the book just doesn't get into it at all.
Yeah.
And I found that very funny. Especially the patches. Every year they're different. And so someone's designing them. Like someone is like, wing leader patch this year. Mm-hmm. What do I want the wing leader patch for year 601 to be? Last year I had 2 wings. So I think I'm going to go with 3 wings.
Yeah.
I
love it.
Cackled.
So we get to Darna using her time stop power to save Liam from falling, which is cool.
Taryn is able to swoop down because Jack has like pierced him with a spear, I think, or a sword or something in his gut, and so he's bleeding out.
Stabbed.
And Violet shoots lightning for the first time and blows Jack to fucking smithereens.
Yeah, that's her like signet power is a lightning wielder. Which is super powerful, hasn't been one in a long time.
If you could choose a signet, which one would you choose?
I don't know what all them are.
But of the ones we see in the book.
Well, an intrinsic, you get murdered. So
no, but in our world you wouldn't.
Oh.
I'm saying in our world, which one do you think is the most like valuable to like living life in 2025?
Oh, like that I could use every day?
Yeah.
Oh, the shadow. Zayden's power. You could get the shadows to do shit for you. You're always protected. Yeah. You never need security. If you want a glass of water, you don't have to get up. Like
I was thinking the summoning ability, where they could just like the person who could just zoop stuff to them from across the room. I was like, I'll just be able to.
Which is fair.
I want the remote from my chair.
But like, I feel like the shadow power is like that plus like the protection. So
yeah, all the aggressive ones are kind of useless to me.
I don't need to wield lightning in my everyday life, but for this world, obviously, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, I also like Mira's ability to like protect yourself from things seems pretty dope. Mira Sorgengale can like throw up wards over a group of people, which is why she's so useful on the front line, because if the wards fail, we find out in the battle briefs the wards are failing everywhere. Maybe, I don't know if I believe anything we learned in the battle briefs. So
she can also tell because she's super connected to the wards in a way that not everyone else is.
The wards are a bit of world building in this book that are so... I don't believe anything we've learned about them.
Yeah, that could all just be propaganda.
Yeah. And so they're super interesting in that, because I'm like, I don't know that I buy any of this.
Yeah, that's fair.
And part of it is that like because people at a small scale are capable of doing wards, I don't really... Wards in this book kind of become a catch-all for a bunch of things. And I hope that in the second book... because they're so vital to Navarre's existence, I just hope that we get some clarity from the story. And I'm not saying that should have been in book 1. I actually think the way she handled the words in book 1 is good.
Yeah.
Like, I know enough right now, but I do hope as the books kind of get a little bit deeper and we kind of start to cut through what is propaganda and what isn't, now that we know that a lot of it is propaganda.
Yeah.
I really want to understand the ward magic, because it is the magic that seems the most antithetical to the magic system of this world to me. All of the magic is very moment to moment stuff. All of it is very like active, and the wards are this passive. Are the wards like constantly powered by your dragon? If you're going into battle, right, and your dragon, because they talk about how because Violet can't stay on her dragon, Taryn will bind her until they get the harness. Taryn will bind her thighs down.
Yeah. With like a part of his power.
But he's using some of his power for that, so he's not at full power for the fight.
Yeah.
Does that imply that when a dragon goes into combat, the wards that their rider has placed around the world drop because they need to be at full power, and they don't want that like little sap of energy going miles away to a ward that
No, because that's the rider casting that, not the dragon.
But riders don't. So signets come from the rider.
Yeah.
But all the other magic is being cycled through your dragon to you, right? And so if you cast a permanent ward, what is powering that ward?
It sounds like it's you. I don't think there's anything to suggest that it's the dragon powering it.
Is there, you know what I mean? These are the questions that I have about the magic system, where they're just like a 20-year-old who doesn't specialize in wards can make a ward on a door.
Yeah.
That leads me to like power questions, because which I wouldn't ask, except that the book has established that dragons can burn out and that riders can burn out.
Yeah.
And so there is a battery. Rebecca Yarros has introduced a battery element to how magic works in this world. And so because that battery element has been introduced, well, now I have questions about permanent magic being laid on something.
Yeah.
Or do you lay the ward and all the magic is expended then, and that ward has a time limit, right?
Right.
Like, is Xaden warding her door every morning or every night because yesterday's ward has worn out?
I don't know about wearing out, but I thought he was doing it every day. I don't know. I could be wrong, because I don't feel like we have that information.
Blige Monkey says Sanji would want the astral projection signet. Yes. Snowwolfa says I'd take the lightning. A little Sith power would be fun. The problem, Snowwolfa, is you can't aim it. And I just feel like in our world,
she gets to aim it later.
Kind of.
Yeah,
lightning's so dangerous. Erudite Gaming says, where do they get all this leather? That's a great question. That's actually a great question.
Never seen a cow, so I don't know.
Yeah. Erudite Gaming also says, I find lightning power so boring. Red Queen was a decade ago. I've never read Red Queen. Is that another dragon series?
It might be. I have no idea.
Yeah. So we get to them having sex. It's honestly a really good sex scene.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that was like a little bit weird is that it comes about because like Violet just murdered a human for the first time.
Oh yeah, you and I have different feelings about this.
Which I'm like, ooh, I mean, I love that Xaden's like, no, we can't have sex because it's our dragons that are horny, to yes, we can have sex because you're emotional about committing murder for the first time. I don't I don't really find that. I don't know. If it was me, I'd maybe wait, make sure that person's good. It's like them being drunk to me. Like, I'm like, they're not in a good headspace or a right state of mind.
Yeah.
But they fuck because Violet commits murder for the first time. And is upset.
For me, the difference between the two moments, and I've already told you this, is that when Violet and him are making out because the dragons are horny, it's not her feelings, it's her dragon's feelings and his dragon's feelings. In this moment, yes, the feelings are coming from a place that is maybe not the healthiest place to have sex from, but they are genuinely her feelings. And it is the difference between Xaden fucking her in order to satiate what she's feeling from Ternanok versus Xaden and her having this very intimate moment based purely on what she is experiencing in the moment and coming from her own. So while I do agree it's not the healthiest time for them to have sex, from like a consent perspective, it's very different, right? And I think that the way that they go about it is more based on him trying to be there for her in that moment than...
Sorry, you're peeking a little bit.
Oh, okay.
You like moved it a little bit closer and then you started peeking.
Just a little bit of just a little bit more about her than about Taryn. And so I didn't mind that as much, but I know that it rubbed you in a way.
It's not my favorite. Like, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't seem like the greatest decision, but also they're like 20 and like 22, I think.
Yeah.
So
I've had sex for weirder reasons.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
People do that.
The amount of times that I've had sex with someone I was in a show with just because it was a cast party and we were drunk, like that just is life. You know what I mean? And so this at least is very motivated by a very emotional response to a very emotional moment.
Yeah, for sure. And the tension has already been there. Right, like, well, maybe that's why it's weird to me. It's not like she like picks some random person to fuck to like get feelings out. It is that like there has been this thing there for a while. It just feels different to me. But
they destroy everything.
They break the entire room.
Yeah,
they break everything.
Not the bed.
don't break the bed,
Yeah,
but they
everything
break
about the bed.
all the other furniture. They set the curtains on fire because Violet can't control her lightning yet, and her lightning goes off when she comes, and so she just
when
is
his
like,
shadows break the wardrobe, and he's like, "I've never lost control like this before."
yeah.
Oh my God, your pussy makes me lose control. Pussy makes me lose control. I know exactly where your brain was going.
Yeah, and I didn't, and yeah. So it honestly, in terms of the scene, I thought it was like pretty well written for like Smut. It wasn't anything
Eric
crazy.
even says, "I would love to see Brandon Sanderson review this book." I think he would have huge problems with the magic system.
Oh my God.
I think he'd be like, "There's no rules. What is this?"
Yeah, no. I don't know if he could get past that.
And so we
they fuck real good.
we get into the post-fucking romantasy period where naturally they can't just fuck again because they have to acknowledge that they're not in love yet and they are not allowed to fall for each other because
Zayden's like, "Don't fall for me," and she's like, "Yeah, sure, bud."
Yeah, sure, bud.
Yeah.
Sure, bud.
Fuck yeah, right?
Sure, bud. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so they go about their business kind of training, trying to get good. We go through the war games where they have to bring the most valuable piece of equipment or something.
Intelligence. Something.
Yeah. Something the enemy would want the most from the school.
Yes. That would be the most valuable to the enemy. They fight a lot on the mat and like get real like horny.
Yeah. And so the item that they decide to bring in is the map in General Sorrengail's office.
Yeah, so Violet's like, "Hey, I have a crazy idea.
Let's rob my mom.
We're going to go steal from my mom because I know that she has a really important map in there." Or she doesn't know that the map is in there, but she's like, obviously she's the general.
Giant on the wall, but
yeah, she's like, the general is going to have the most important classified information that the enemy could then use against us. So they break into her office and bring back a map.
Well, let's not skip to the bring back. There's a really important detail in that office. There's a dagger on the desk that is dark and has this Tyrish rune on the hilt. And
super important. Yeah. But they're like, "That's not what we need." So we grab this map with all the like military movements and plans on it. And obviously they win because I don't know what else could possibly be more valuable to your enemy.
The book on all of the... I thought the other really good one was the book with all the dragons. With all the weaknesses of every dragon. Like, that to me is... Because troop movements, if that's one of those things where, like, you can find out that those movements got out, and so you just change them, and then that map is useless.
I guess,
right?
Yeah.
Especially a map that size, it was stolen, we have to change the information, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't move the forts and things like that, but you can use the fact that they have that knowledge against them for having that knowledge because you're aware of the fact that they have that knowledge.
That's true.
There is something about the like permanence of the dragon's weaknesses are the dragon's weaknesses, right? And once the enemy has that information, you can't change the dragons.
Sure.
You can't like so there is an element of like long-term and short-term kind of knowledge, but I do think in this case the map should win.
Yeah, and
I just think the book was a good other option.
Which means they win a chance to go die. Basically, is they win the privilege of going to not the front lines of the battle, but like going on like a mission with.
Well, no, they win a tour of a outpost. They don't win like a mission. They go to a safe outpost. They
go to an active war zone.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No, they go to fucking they go to an outpost an hour from where Rhiannon grew up.
Okay, and
they don't go to the front line.
Are failing everywhere and anywhere.
Sure. And when they go to Athabine later, like that's dangerous. But this is like a routine flight to an outpost.
Okay, but it's not because they get fucking attacked.
What?
Yeah.
By who?
This is when they make Violet fly away. And she's like, "Is my sister alive? Is my sister alive?"
Oh, fuck. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
I read this 3 days ago. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right. They get attacked by, the Griffins. The Griffins show up.
Yeah. So basically, they go out there for a few days. They get to see the post. They get to, sit in on like real meetings and briefs and all that stuff. There is a moment where Violet and Rhiannon sneak away
to go see Rhiannon's niece.
Yeah,
it's
Rhiannon's
so
family.
cute.
Super cute. Love that. It's like 10 minutes away by Dragonflight. Like it's really easy to get to.
And the moment is that moment is so important to this book because when you reveal the conspiracy at the end of the book, Rebecca Yarros does not do a good job of seeding that Navarro is a great place, right? None of the leaders seem great. There's all of these, all of it is evil. And the school, the way the school functions is evil. Like, it's dripping in excess and negativity.
Yeah.
And so this moment is the one moment that shows that there are pieces of Navarre that are just innocent. And it is so important to the book. If it wasn't here, it would be really hard to view Navarre as a society that has any value in saving at all.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that the moment of... I don't know if Rebecca Yarros was being intentional in bringing this into the book, but I do think there's an element of it where bringing this piece into the book allowed for the audience to be like, oh, there is like humanity in this country, even if it sometimes feels like everyone is just awful all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that bringing it in at this point, having this sweet moment, having Rhiannon, who's this very like, I want to be a dragon rider, I want to be a violent person.
Yeah.
Have this kind of like, sentimental moment, I think was really great.
Yeah. And it is then immediately preceded by an attack. So they get back home with no problems, right? The village is not in immediate danger, but
no. I mean, there's enough dragons to fight 12 griffins.
Yeah, so
because griffins can't fight fucking dragons.
Violet is talking with her sister Mira about how she's bonded to Xaden and that their dragons are mates and, don't know how long we can even be apart because mated dragons have this special connection where they literally have to be together always. It's us. And Xaden immediately shows up.
Well, and my favorite part about it is the dialogue is they're like, how long can you guys be apart? 3 days, apparently. And he's just there.
Yeah. Just emerges from the shadows.
Our dragons are fucking in the field over. I'm here high.
Yeah, pretty much. So Xaden literally shows up. And Violet starts to realize just how differently the marked people are treated.
Yeah. Especially outside of Basquiat.
Yes, yeah. Outside of Basquiat, and especially Xaden. Obviously, he is like the son of like the leader, the general, all that jazz. And Mira is very wary and uncomfortable with the situation. And the outpost does get attacked, and Xaden kind of makes Violet leave.
Yeah.
Because she's not helpful. She can't stay on her dragon right now. Yeah. And Darna is at risk.
Yeah.
And
also she can't shoot lightning in a safe way.
No.
And so she might just kill her friends. Wait, does she have her signet yet? I can't remember when this happens. This might be pre-signet.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah, this might be before she has her signet.
Sure, yeah. No, that is fair. That is fair.
She's one of the last ones to get her signet.
Yeah. So, sorry. We might have messed up that order.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, if you've listened to the order of this podcast, you're like... If you're still listening to this conversation, I don't think you expect us to get the order right.
Yeah, we're a little all over the place.
We usually have notes for when we do the Cosmere, but this one we're just going to do a chat about how we feel.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been... I'm probably leaning negative a little bit, but I think we've given due to the positive stuff in the book. Like, I don't think we're just shitting on it. There is good stuff in here. I think that there's interesting stuff. I think the book is just a little bit overshadowed by the simplicity of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially in the prose. Like, the prose is as bland. The ideas and the characters, and a lot of the characters aren't even that three-dimensional, but the ideas and the characters are so much more complicated than the prose of this book are.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
But it's not trying. The prose never attempts to be interesting outside of the sex scenes. Mm-hmm. The prose is as like basic, here's what you need to know about the scene, as possible. There's nothing flowery about it ever.
There's no casualties here, so it's not...
I think a dragon gets hurt, but like not...
Yeah, it's not too big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But they do...
Heretic Gaming says, this book is like if we saw John's life at the wall before we ever saw Winterfell. I agree with that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so, they go back to school. Xaden's fine. There's an interesting moment. One of my favorite Violet moments. It's a very small one, but they're walking to battle brief with the professor, who's reading a missive about the outpost. And she's like, I have the right to know if my sister's alive and not find out in front of my class. Mm-hmm. And I did like that the teacher was like, Okay.
Fair.
There,
Yeah.
there's no like chain of command harm in you finding out right now. And I thought the way that scene was handled was good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I felt like it was strong, and yeah, it could have been worse, but it wasn't, which is good.
Yeah. We finally get to the last little chunk of this story where we should also say, I think we mentioned this, but after they fuck, Violet's like, hey, we need to, like, how does she phrase it? She's like,
I have no idea. This is the longest sentence. What moment are you talking about?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. So
No,
they
it does.
get to
No,
the next.
what moment are you talking about?
When she's like, you have to say that you like me.
Oh no, she says I will tell you when I am falling for you. I didn't understand this.
Yeah.
I didn't understand this at all. The mental gymnastics of we're not going to have sex again until we're falling for each other, but we can't fall for each other, but I'll let you know when I'm falling for you so that we can have sex again. I know.
The mental gymnastics of them, will they, won't they, is like a little bit too goofy for me. I was like, I don't really follow this, but yeah, sure, whatever.
The work this book did to not... So the problem with that, the whole post-sex stuff, isn't the book. Because a lot of the events are fine. They're interesting. The characters are much more interesting in this half. But the effort that's put into them not just being together is...
It's a little unnecessary.
I almost wish that the book had done something a little bit more cliche, just to well, we can't, Xaden, like the school, my mom will be against it. Or
sure.
If you hadn't so fucked the relationship between her and Dane at this point, like that could have come into it somehow. There just could have been some roadblock. The only roadblock between them continuing to sleep together ends up being...
It's just their own shit they mental keep saying to each other. Gymnastics. Yeah. It's...
And and so when they do have sex again, it's just because the book is like, fuck that shit. Not because there's like a change.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Because Xaden doesn't open up to her more. She doesn't, like, nothing changes between them. They just decide to stop talking about these blocks that are things that they invented in the first place.
Yeah.
And I wish for this section of the book, well, everything else, especially Imogen in this book, in this part of the book really shines to me. And the way that she starts to... Imogen is the character whose relationship to Violet changes the most over the course of the book.
True, yeah.
Or
Dane. Either one, but yeah.
The book pretends that Dane and her stay friends the whole time, but every single interaction she has with him sucks. And I'm sure off page they have fine interactions with their friends, but every single time they're together on page, he's like, we have to get you out of here. We have to get you to the healer's quadrant. We have to get you to stop. We have to get you to the scribes. And he's so one note that he doesn't change. Imogen actually does change. Imogen goes from destroying her shoulder and wanting her dead to
protecting her and teaching her how to hold her own in combat
out of necessity. And then you kind of watch as she stops doing it out of necessity and starts doing it out of genuine friendship.
Yeah.
And I love Imogen. Like Imogen, Liam, and Xaden are... Garrick a little bit less. Garrick's a little bit more of a like slab of meat kind of guy. And so he's just less interesting, even though I think he's a good second in command for Xaden.
Yeah.
But the Imogen, Liam, and Xaden are such interesting characters. So when the book is more about them, the book is just so much better.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful Violet grows into that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we get to the second part of the war games, and it turns out that Xaden has to go to this outpost for like basically like a real mission
they get the ball first. So they have so there's the reunification day dance where the king is here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, nothing really happened.
Well, but this is where we learn that Melgren has the line where he's like, where's Xaden? I want to it's nice to put my eyes on him once a year, which is really interesting. Right. Because that leads to the reveal that when you have them together, he can't see them.
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay.
And Liam, I wanted to bring it up just because Liam...
Oh, Liam being there, even though he wasn't
there, even though it
forced
hurts.
To. Yeah.
Like, it genuinely hurts him to be there because it is the, celebration of the day his parents were killed.
Yeah.
And he is like, Violet, he's literally like, I would do anything for you. Yeah. And I would do anything for Xaden. And he was my foster brother. Because Liam dies, like, this moment is so much sweeter even in retrospect.
Yeah.
Right? Because of that, like, I'm here for you. I would do anything to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the rest of the ball doesn't matter because they're in their, like, she doesn't even describe the dress uniforms. I have no idea what the dress uniforms look like.
Couldn't tell you.
Other
They're all
than,
different. Hers has got a fun slit, I think.
And hers has a skirt instead of pants, which becomes a problem later. But
right.
God, Liam in this moment is so good.
Yeah.
Some of the best dialogue in the whole book is the Liam and Violet stuff in the ball.
Yeah, especially because their relationship changes so much because she's so annoyed by him, like, basically following her everywhere. And they do develop this, like, real and beautiful relationship.
Yeah, I like their friendship a lot.
Yeah.
And the moment where she's like, can you keep something from Xaden for me? Mm-hmm. Because I need him to not know. It's when her and Jack are going to end up. This is earlier, but she finds out that she's going to fight Jack the next day.
Yeah.
And she needs to tell somebody, but she needs Xaden not to freak out.
Yeah.
Because it'll look bad for them.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just need you. Can you just not tell Jack this or tell Xaden this? And Liam's like, I can't. And she's like, Liam, and he's like, will it affect your safety? And she's like, there's nothing Xaden can do. And he's like, all right.
Yeah.
But that moment was like a really defining moment in their friendship. There's a lot between the two of them. You know what I thought? Friendship, just because I'm talking about friendship right now. The scribe girl, I thought we were going to get more scenes with her.
Yeah.
But that kind of goes away because Violet gets pulled off that duty of collecting the library stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have a ball, and then Violet leaves the ball, and Xaden is sitting on the parapet, just chilling, and he's like, why did you come out here? And she's like, I have magic and I ride a dragon. I think I can walk on this thing. I don't know, man.
Yeah, this was forever ago, and it's not even rainy or windy right now.
Yeah. The making the parapet dangerous is gonna be so hard in live action. I know I've said it already.
Yeah.
But like, it's just gonna look like people walking on something and being like, whoa, I'm having a hard time walking.
But yeah, Xaden's struggling because obviously it's like the anniversary of his dad's death.
Mm-hmm.
His parents probably, but they mostly talk about his dad. And Violet, they kind of just have this beautiful moment where they're just together.
Yeah.
Right? It's not trying to make anything of it. It's just them both kind of acknowledging the fucked up thing that happened and that they both lost people because of it, which is hilarious because Xaden's sitting there being like, your brother's not dead, your brother's not dead, your brother's not dead, but it's fine.
Yeah.
So that kind of reframes that moment.
But what I give him credit for is that he does acknowledge it as if it's real to her. Mm-hmm. Right? And he's not being dismissive of her feelings.
Yeah.
But like keeping it a secret why, which would have been broody and gross.
Yeah.
He is saying like, you lost your brother.
Yeah.
You fully lost him. And as much as I know that that's not real, I know how painful that is for you. And so I have to behave as if it is 100% real for you.
Yeah, and
because otherwise I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And then they get off parapet and go fuck. Second sex scene. Not as good as the first one. Because this one, she just starts to kind of describe how many orgasms she's going to have. And then it's like ticking them off. Describing sex as being like accomplishing different numbers of orgasms was a little bit off-putting to me because that's not how I think about sex.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, but that was 3. What happens when we go for 5? And I was like, yeah, I don't think of sex like a spreadsheet personally, but like, yeah, go for it, girl.
Yeah. No, it's not my, I don't know. I find it kind of whatever.
But they get interrupted. Oh no, because war game time?
Yes.
The night of the ball?
They decided to have surprise war game round number 2 in the middle of the night. And so everyone has to like hurriedly get dressed and go down. And they
have to go on a mission.
Yeah.
With their wing commanders.
Yep. And Xaden deliberately takes Liam.
He gets to choose his HQ support staff.
Yeah. So he takes Violet and Liam with him. And Violet doesn't realize this until they're basically already there, but it's all marked people except for her.
Which I don't know how he gets away with.
Yeah, I know.
Because that's against the law?
Yeah, I know.
And so you would think that he would have to run that
I have no idea
through his commanding officer. One of the
clue.
things that's weird about this book is I have no idea who Xaden's commanding officer is. It's like a military school.
Well, and there seem to be a lot of marked ones. And so if they're just flying in a formation, does that count as a meeting?
I don't know. But the way in which the book was like, this is illegal, but Xaden's allowed to do it because it's a mission, felt kind of just antithetical. We'll get to it, but I genuinely don't understand how they come back to Basquiat next year. Like, I don't get how they could. They broke the law.
I don't think they can.
Disappeared for days.
Yeah.
No, but they have to. There's no way this Dragon School series doesn't go back to school for year 2. Except for the fact that, like, fucking, I guess, because of the Dragon Bond, like, having Violet at the school is going to be hard because every 3 days they have to be together.
Yeah.
So they fly off to Athabine, which is a place that Zayden has previously mentioned having gone.
Yeah.
But when he tells Violet about that, he says, you can't know why.
Yeah.
And
she's like, okay.
So they go and they stop 30 minutes out and they get some water. And then Zayden takes Violet into the woods to give her a deep, deep tissue massage.
Wait, no, I thought they got to the outpost, found it empty.
No, that hasn't happened yet.
Oh, okay.
No, they go to the watering hole, and while getting the massage, the Dragon Riders are morons who are like, oh,
don't know how to set up a perimeter.
You know what? We're outside of the wards, but we don't need to look up into the sky, and our dragons are not going to pay attention. And so 2 Griffin Riders land mere feet from Zayden and Violet and walk up on them, fucking rubbing thighs.
Yeah.
Violet understandably loses her fucking mind because her
she's about
lifelong enemy.
She's about to fucking murder them.
The people she spent the last year training to kill. And like the fact that Zayden doesn't warn, and I guess he was going to warn her before they were, because they're early. The Griffins are early. But like, this is such a dumb, like if they had accidentally found each other in the air and Violet had like swooped into an attack, like Zayden is just not fucking thinking at all.
Yeah, he's too horny to think logically.
And so the Griffins reveal that they've been working with Zayden and that the conspiracy that the dragons and the Griffins are fighting is actually not true. The dragons and the rebels and the Griffins are working together to fight the Venin, which are these.
But but the thing is, the attacks are true because the people outside of Navarre, the Griffin Riders,
the Pomeranians.
Yep. They need specific material to be able to fight the Venin, which are made into these like fancy daggers, and like the ones that Violet saw in her mom's office.
And that very special material is the material that powers the wards. So the wards do have a power source sometimes, but not always. And that
there is a magic material.
So that material is plentiful enough in Navarre that Zayden is able to have a blacksmith secretly making daggers out of it that he is then able to sneak off in the middle of the night and fly all night to deliver to the Griffin Riders.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck off. like genuinely fuck off. I don't hate the reveal. I don't hate the reveal.
Yeah.
The logistics of Zayden stealing a classified energy material from the government that is watching him because he's basically like literally marked.
Yeah.
And that he's able to sneak around behind the military often enough that he's able to have a secret blacksmith that makes secret daggers that or
I assume
the government
daggers
makes
were
the daggers
made, but yeah.
But that he's able to steal shipments of them regularly enough while also being with Violet every single day.
And in school.
And there's no marked ones who aren't in school, who aren't children.
Yeah.
I was just like, how as important as the conspiracy reveal is to the series, and I think is cool.
Yeah, the kernel behind it, the idea there is cool.
Yes.
How this all fucking works is a big old question mark.
It felt like I needed to bend over backwards to be okay with it and move on.
Yeah.
Like I literally put my book down for a minute and sat and had to like think through if I was okay with it before I picked it back up.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is too many convenient things in a military school where they would like be paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah. So it turns out that Zayden and his squadron have been sent on this mission deliberately.
Yeah.
So they go to the keep and there's a letter there that basically is like, you're gonna die here, and if you don't, well then good for you, I guess. The letter was like super kind of weird to me because it turns out that Dane sucks, which no one is surprised by. Dane has been using his touchy, I see your brain ability to find out information about Zayden through Violet.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, Dane would never. And then she's like, well, actually, Dane kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So this is actually a trap. They can abandon the Griffin Riders to the attack that's happening basically right now.
Yes.
And they can abandon them and come back and prove their loyalty to Navarre, or that they stay and fight and basically declare themselves the enemies of the state, I guess.
I guess.
It's a weird plan. Sure. But it leads to a cool fight scene. So there's a village nearby that's going to be attacked by Venom.
Yeah.
And the Griffin Riders are on their way there right now. They're like, we don't have enough resources. We are going to die, but we are at least going to die trying to defend innocent people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the Griffin Riders, pretty dope.
Yeah, they're
cool.
They seem all right.
Their mounts couldn't fucking take on a dragon, but, other than that.
Yeah. Violet is really struggling coming to terms with all these secrets. Because even the dragons knew, like her dragons knew and kept it from her, and Xaden knew and kept it from her. And,
all the dragons know.
I guess.
Well, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Andarna might not because she's 4, but Terran is 100.
Well, Terran also knows because his previous rider died in this situation that involves all of this.
I just mean, if dragons are living to be 100, the flow of information. One of the problems that I have with this bit is that it makes sense for the government to be willing to sacrifice the marked ones. It doesn't really make sense to me that they would put the dragons at risk and risk pissing dragons off.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The whole dragon political structure has to be incredibly complicated. And we just don't know it.
The government is, by sending these marked ones dragons on, and the dragons in the series have family bonds, right? They have love, they have friendship, they've, and so.
Mated bonds.
If a dragon were to find out that Melgren sent dragons to this to die intentionally, I don't. The world building of that is really a struggle for me.
Yeah. Big old question marks all over the place here, which I'm going to assume because it comes up right at the end of the book that it is explained more as we go further on, right?
Skepcat says there's also civilians. Those civilians aren't Navarrans, though. Those are Pomeranians. And so I don't think that the government doesn't care about the Pomeranians. But the government is, in order to be a fascist intelligence state, which is what Navarre's trying to be, right? By keeping this massive secret from its population, what you have to do is violently control anyone who might have access to that information. Mm-hmm. And where Rebecca Yarros, I think, really struggles in establishing the reality of this government and what it's trying to do is that they are sending children, essentially, unwatched to a front line where they're going to find out that the conspiracy is real with no thought to the fact that they might survive and come back and break the illusion, right? And so if you're trying to protect secrets, the people on the outside ring of your country have to be fully bought into the fact that they are protecting government secrets. You can't send people out beyond the ring of secrets to fight the secrets with magical weapons that could allow, Xaden is so strong with his shadow powers. The idea that he's definitely going to die is just not nonsense. That's nonsense, right? You can't say that it's 100%. And so you are risking the secret coming back into Navarre in order to send kids that with no supervision, with no government oversight into outside of the barrier of your control, right? Mm-hmm. And so in terms of the fascistic element of how this government is maintaining this, conspiracy against the world, it just doesn't, it flies in the face of any logical progression for this government to keep its own power.
Well, and you also mentioned that they have their trade agreement, right? Where the Navarrans and the Pomorials, I think,
just call them Pomeranians. Sure. It's funnier.
where they like meet and like do trade and stuff like that. So like
Yeah.
there has to be an exchange of information, which I'm assuming is how the rebellion started in the first place and all that jazz.
But that exchange of information, at least at the trade, you can send government agents to be the ones that do the trade. Those
Yeah,
government
yeah.
agents just have to be in on the secret.
Yeah.
The problem here is that the people they're sending aren't in on the secret. And the people at a lot of the outposts aren't in on the secret. Mira's at an outpost on the front line and it's like, I see dragons out there. That's wild. She's not read in. And it's so strange to...
Oh yeah, they see the wyverns and they don't
Yeah.
realize it. Yeah.
It's like the idea that like I'm trying to think of like like North Korea wildly controls the information that comes in about the outside world so that North Koreans don't know that they don't have. If North Korea was sending like a high school, if in your senior year of high school in North Korea, you went on a trip to New York City,
Yeah.
and then they brought you back to North Korea, you'd be like, well, they've got fucking like apple pie on every corner. Like, have you guys seen a Broadway musical? It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But North Korea doesn't allow people who aren't North Korean officials to leave the country because the people who leave know that they're lying to the citizenry. That's how they maintain control. This book weirdly posits a world where the government is both fascistic and controlling and keeping information about Venom so secret that fairy tale books are illegal. That like literal like
I don't know
Dr.
if they're
Seuss.
illegal. They just were all destroyed.
Well, but they call it a banned book, so I'm assuming it would be
Yeah, I
illegal for her to
guess.
have it.
Yeah.
The government is banning books, but allowing Xaden to choose who he takes out beyond the secret wall. It's
Yeah.
It's unfortunately a very weak moment right at the end when the reveal of the conspiracy is at its most interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Where like the big reveal that the bad guys are the bad guys, the good guys are the good guys, and we're going to go beat them should be this like huge moment of like, holy shit. But instead it's like, oh, they're so stupid. Like, oh, the Melgren is fucking so dumb. Of course the rebels figured out that it was all a lie. They sent them to the only place where they could find out that it is a lie.
Well, they know it's a lie.
But
Already.
General Melgren
They sent them there to die.
But General Melgren can't know that Xaden knows that the Venom are real. Because if General Melgren knows that Xaden knows that everything General Melgren is saying is a lie, he would have him killed. They're sending them there, assuming that Xaden doesn't already have a relationship with the Griffin Riders there. Because if they knew that they had a relationship with the Griffin Riders, they would have just killed them.
No, I thought they sent them and then they knew and they were like, you have to make a choice. That's the whole point, right? Xaden is responsible for all of the marked people, right? And so
I understand that.
Xaden choosing to stay and fight and help protect these civilians means that he's damning all the marked ones, right? Because he's responsible for them.
Yes, but General Melgren can't know that Xaden knows about the Venom and the war that's going on outside the walls, outside the wards.
Why?
Because if he knows
wouldn't his dad have told him? Like, that would be the first... Dad, why are you fighting this crazy war?
This gets into the problem.
Well, son.
This gets into that problem, though. This is why this world building doesn't work.
Yeah.
Xaden was 17. He wasn't 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Xaden was 17 years old when his dad was murdered in front of him. Of course, Xaden, like, so the idea that there's a conspiracy secret.
Yeah, Xaden has to know. Everyone, like, Melgren obviously would know that Xaden knows. But that's why Xaden holds the responsibility of all these other children on his shoulders. Is to keep him in line.
But then why would you give him power? And this is where the book doesn't really make sense.
That
right?
is a good question.
Is you've established that this guy would definitely know the evils that the government is doing.
Yeah.
And then you've given him one of the best dragons.
Yeah, to be fair, it's because that dragon chose him. But yeah, it does, like, the more you really, like, look at it, it does make Melgren seem like a total fucking moron because Xaden should not be in a position where he can influence others and have this immense power.
Yeah.
But
and when they get back into Basquiat somehow next book, it's not going to make any sense. I'm warning you now. Mm-hmm. When we talk about book 2, I'm really like, this didn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
I accept it and move on.
Yeah.
But like from a world building perspective, this moment is both the most interesting the book gets and also the weakest it gets in terms of its world building at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. But it does lead into a cool fight, right? Like there's a lot of people's lives at stake and everyone decides to fight to try and save these poor civilians that live near. There's like a tower at the center of town that the Venin are very interested in, and Taryn is like, there's a weird feeling over there.
There's a box in it that they need to get open.
Got to be a thing that's going on over there, and there's a bunch of wyverns. So these Venin are incredibly powerful. They can sap the life out of everything around them. Use these crazy magics. They have these poison daggers.
Fabumu says, also keep your enemies close. I understand the concept of keep your enemies close is keep your enemies close, not give them nukes.
Sure, yeah. Don't give them dragons and influence over other people.
But not just dragons. His signet, he can kill the town.
To be fair, they would have no idea what his signet would manifest as, but it doesn't matter.
You don't know what his signet's going to manifest as.
Exactly. It is a liability that I would not risk if I was an evil fascist dictator.
There's a massive difference between taking a 17-year-old enemy and keeping them close and watching them and keeping them in a nice little apartment in the capital where he can't hurt anybody, and being like, actually, we're going to force you to have a nuke.
Yeah.
And we're not going to actually watch what you do with that nuke all that closely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so the end of this book is a weird, like, mix of cool stuff and stuff that doesn't work for me.
Oh, really? I really like the end of the book. What doesn't work for you?
I just mean this whole reveal thing. Like, there were so many questions that I had that I'm like, what? And the battle was cool. All that around that was cool. Losing people was cool.
We haven't really talked about the Venin at all, but the Venin, basically the concept is that humans can only get their magic from dragons and griffins.
Yes, but the Venin are people who decided to seize that magic for themselves, and therefore it's corrupted because it's come from an external source.
Well, so the dragons and griffins pull their magic from the sky, and the Venin pull their magic from the earth, and so they kill. They basically kill the earth around them to cast spells.
Yeah, they take the energy of things around them.
And so there's a section of this continent that is called the Barrens, where the Venin have drawn so much magic out of the earth that it's basically just a desolate place.
Yeah.
I don't think it's actually desolate. I think we're going to find out that there's something there. Later books, you know what I mean? They're going to go there and there's going to be a bustling something, but or Venin society or something. But the Venin are bad dudes.
They're like pure evil.
Yeah, and their veins are like red and bulging, and they have crazy magic, like being able to make wyverns. Which is crazy. But because they make the wyverns, if a rider dies, or if a dragon dies, the rider dies, because the rider's magic comes from the dragon.
Yeah, but if the Venin dies, then the wyverns that they conjure also die. So they're able to use this to their advantage.
And so they need to use these special daggers, or lightning.
Or lightning to kill the Venin, yeah.
And so we get, we're not going to talk beat by the action sequence, but the most important beat of the whole thing is that
Liam dies. Yeah.
And dies saving Violet.
Yeah, it is like genuinely tragic.
It hit. Like, as much as like I didn't feel a lot of emotions reading this book, it didn't like get into me, that moment really did work.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I thought that it was very powerful, and that the action around it was very well done. So there are really strong moments at the end of this book.
Yeah.
What doesn't work for me right at the end is that Violet's like, Xaden, I can't trust you.
Yeah. It's so manufactured.
It is. It is. Because like any reasonable person in that situation would be like, Xaden is responsible for 117 children, right? And I am enemy number one, daughter of enemy number one. Like it is very reasonable that he would not immediately share this kind of a secret with me.
Yeah,
I understand why that trust wasn't there.
But she's also not upset with Taryn about it.
Well, she is, but doesn't do anything about it. It's like, well, we're bonded, so it doesn't matter. I think that her upset is reasonable, but her we can't be together is very manufactured, because it's like, yeah, of course he didn't tell you or trust you right away. Like Dane is a liability and was a liability. Your relationships with the people in this world are a liability. And like, I find it super cringy that she was like, well, you can't trust me, I can't trust you, we can't be together. I think that that's very silly when the stakes are this high and the state of the world is what it is. So I really hope that, if we do continue with book 2, I hope that they get over that immediately,
really fast.
And that Violet's like, you know what? you're right. I had a strong initial reaction because of the stress of the day, but I completely understand why you didn't trust me with all your deepest, darkest secrets, because we've either known each other for like 10 months or 10 weeks. I don't actually know because...
It's a year.
Is it?
Yeah, because because it's the parapet is like 4 days after graduation.
The parapet.
The day where like new people come across the parapet.
Yeah, but they don't have a new class yet. They don't have a new class yet. They started at the parapet, right? And then they got to threshing, which was a questionable amount of time. And they've gotten maybe to the end of, like, maybe it's been a full year, but I don't...
It's been a full year.
Sure.
Yeah, because Zayden's graduation, the reunification day, is like the graduation. So they literally have...
That's graduation? I thought it was just a party.
No, they're like a week away from the next parapet at the end of the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think the manufacturedness of, but again, it doesn't come from Zayden. It's just that Violet's not a very strong character. And so Violet
that they need a reason for there to be conflict, I guess, later on, which, not my favorite.
Well, and there's an element of, she's immature, right? And she needs to mature a little bit because the idea that he owes her all of his secrets already is weird to me.
Yeah, I'm like, Violet, do you trust every person that you meet immediately with everything? Like, I just, Yeah.
And so, no, I completely agree. The book ends, she is knocked out and like out for 3 days. And
yeah, 'cause she gets stabbed with the poison dagger, so they have to take her to the best healer that they know.
Brennan.
Which is her brother.
Who is in... the city that was destroyed at the end of the war.
Burnt down,
But dragons are regularly flying in and out of it, and the Kingdom of Navarre just doesn't notice.
I guess, yeah. Anyways, that's where the rebellion is. And Brennan is in on it, and now Violet is too. Yay!
Yeah, I think that if people watch this book club, I don't know that anyone who like is a Fourth Wing fan but doesn't know us will like this because we're pretty negative. I think that but I feel like I was positive about the things. There are good things in this book.
Before we I do want to talk. I do want to end with positives, but before we get there, we do have to talk about something that just bugs the fuck out of me.
Oh, did you already find it?
So the very beginning of this.
I'm gonna let you talk about this for a second. I'm gonna go pee.
Oh, sure, yeah. The very beginning of this book. Okay. Where does it say it? Okay. The following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarian into the modern language by Jesnia Neilwart, curator of the Scribe Quadrant at Basgiath War College. All events are true, and names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen. May their souls be commended to Malak. This does a horrible job of setting up this book, because as soon as you start reading that it is like Violet's like first person, like in the moment POV, just ignore this page. When you if you haven't read Fourth Wing, which that would be incredibly ridiculous if you got to the end of book club without having read this book, just discount this page. Just don't read it. It absolutely makes no sense with how the book is structured, with how the narrative is structured, and with the information that is provided. Like, are you telling me that whoever wrote this book, I'm assuming this is Violet leaving this behind, she describes in detail the number of orgasms she has? Like, maybe, I guess that's what she left in her memoir. I don't know. That seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I do love the idea.
I hate this page. Yeah. Just pretend that it doesn't exist. It makes absolutely no sense with how the book is structured.
I want that character's perspective, though, of her like writing the book and being like, Jesus Christ, this girl only writes about Zayden's abs. Can you imagine she's
having
translated
to transcribe
and she's like,
that?
Oh my God. I'm literally I'm transcribing the diary of this like war hero.
Yeah.
And I'm just writing. Okay, what is the modern English word for chiseled?
Yeah. And also the first person of it all is so weird. Like, I just wish that was not the first thing that I read. And I only did read it because it was on the Kindle. I have a feeling if I saw that map and some text on the side, I wouldn't have even bothered with it. But because I was reading it on the Kindle, it pops up. I wish it wasn't there. I think it's so fucking weird. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Well,
we can move on.
It does the thing that Brandon Sanderson also, I think, uses as a bit of a cop-out. Mm-hmm. And I'm not hating on Sanderson, but I do find the modern language thing a little bit tough.
Yeah.
And, like Brandon Sanderson using Hat Trick and Mistborn, or in this book, like toxic. Like, I can't believe I'm falling for a toxic man. It's just so not in world.
Yeah.
And so one of the problems with Navarre for me as a world for a series is that it just feels so generic.
Yeah.
Like the world feels generic. And the
Yeah.
writing, because she doesn't describe anything, the writing doesn't help because I can make it whatever I want it to be.
Yes.
Which has its upsides.
Yeah, and I will say that the book does have its upsides, right?
It does, 100%.
There's some cool ideas in there.
And Tyr is cool.
Yeah.
It's just that Navarre isn't.
Yes.
And I hope that as the book moves, these series moves forward, I hope we get a little bit more of Navarre and like what, like, because does it just suck? Should we just, are they just bad? Are they just lucky to have dragons?
Yeah.
There's got to be culturally a bit more going on here moving forward.
Especially among the dragons, because right now that doesn't make any sense.
Which dragons know what and are okay with what is such a weird, because the dragons are like, to the school and to the government, they seem like they're just pawns, but the book keeps telling me that humans can't tell dragons what to do or who to choose, or
Yeah.
but then it doesn't seem like the human leadership gives a shit about the dragons at all. There's this weird tension there that the book doesn't address well.
Yeah. I also do love that some of you in chat have never read this book, but are just sticking around for a fun book club. That is, y'all the realist. This must have been so chaotic.
Yeah, thank you, Light Blinded Fool, for
So
being here.
Bledgemong says, do you think Violet's mom just wanted her to die? She never seemed happy with when Violet had success. I don't know. Her mom character is very odd to me. I think, honestly, that the book would be a little bit more interesting if Violet had a good relationship with her mom, and then finding out that her mom is in this crazy conspiracy theory where she's just like letting people die.
Well, I think that Violet having a positive view of anyone who is in on the conspiracy would have been better. Like,
Yeah, unless Mira is in on it, which is like maybe possible, but I don't know.
If Mira was in on it, she wouldn't have brought up that she saw the dragons across the border.
Yeah.
It'd be weird for her to bring that up.
Yeah.
I think that if her mom's going to be like this, I think that the choice should have been that Melgren is actually really charming. And that when we meet Melgren, we're like, oh God, the general of this war, he's vicious on the battlefield, but he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he shows up and is just immediate, I was like, oh, he's evil.
Yeah.
Her mom is evil. The king is not great. The book needed somebody, in order to sell the conspiracy twist a little bit better, I needed to be on board with somebody who was in on it.
Yeah.
And by the end of the book, I was like, I don't really like any. So
Yeah.
when the twist happens, I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense that all those characters are evil. The book
Yeah.
never made me think that they weren't.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I give this book overall, I think like a 3 out of 5.
I would give it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, like a 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, there's definitely positives.
Maybe like a 6.5.
I enjoyed the reading experience of it.
But here, my rating is like 7 post-threshing, like 4.5 pre-threshing.
Yeah, for sure.
The threshing isn't right at the middle.
Yeah.
So like the 7 outweighs the 4.5. But before the threshing, this book is aggressively fine.
Yeah.
Post-threshing, it gets so much better.
Yeah.
And if
Agreed.
Iron Flame is more like the post-threshing version of the book, I think I'm going to be pretty happy.
Yeah.
I think that I want to keep reading the series, not for the prose, honestly, not for the world building, kind of, but Liam's death. And the way that Rebecca Yarros handled that, to me, it was solid enough that I am curious to keep going.
Yeah.
Right? The conspiracy, I'm really curious how I feel like she's painted herself into a bit of a logical corner for them to get back to Basquiat. And so I'm just curious how that moment functions early in the next book.
Yeah.
Because what do you mean they disappeared for 4 days, show up, and
I don't know.
all the
how
rebels
next
were
book
together
starts.
illegally
That's going to be a weird one. Brian Evans, thank you for being a member of the Nerd.
The Nerd Radiant. Oh my God. Are you our first Nerd Radiant on this channel?
I don't know. Was this Rebecca Yarros' first novel?
No.
No, I don't believe so. No.
She's written like 30 books.
Oh, damn. Good for her. I definitely enjoyed this book, but we are now over our 3-hour mark.
We are. I just want to quickly get into this. Just because someone asked. Rebecca Yarros, because this book came out in 2023, I think. Oh, no, that's the wrong thing.
Definitely like a post-COVID world.
Yeah. No, so she has like she has 7 standalone novels, 6 published before this. She has the Flight and Glory series, which is 5 novels, was published before this. The In Love Duet, which was a co-write, the Legacy series, 3 books before this, and the Renegades trilogy, which is 3 books before this. So
Wow.
she's written a ton of books,
Yeah.
which makes me think that the quality of the writing being not very high on a sentence level, like it's
On a prose level.
the quality is the wrong word. The reading level of the book not being very high, because she's so published, makes me think that it's very intentional, and
Yeah.
she knows the readership she's trying to attain.
And what sells, yeah.
I think that
for her.
she knows this is a very simple read. She knows that like I think that a 10-year-old could probably get through this book. I know they shouldn't because of the sex scenes.
You know what? Let's say like a 5th grade reading level can get through this book. You know, we'll say it like
Sure.
that.
But I don't think any of the language is complicated enough, or there's not a lot of metaphor to the theme.
No.
There's not a lot of intelligence that you need to put together what's being said.
Yeah.
And so I because she's so published, I do think it's intentional and not. It's a perk, not a bug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys. New book club, new set, new channel. Love all that for us. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Glad you guys like the new set.
It's going to get lower because our actual chairs are actually much
Yeah, it is going to change a little bit. We have different chairs coming in, and also
a little bit more comfortable than this. This was a rough.
It was not my favorite, yeah. But 2 mic setup. Hopefully the audio is better.
Yeah, let us know in the comments
curious.
or on Discord what you thought of the audio for today, so I can adjust for next time.
Yeah.
Hi-lo?
Yeah. Don't forget, we'll be back on Friday in 2 days with Dawn Shard. So we'll see you there.
Hi-lo is a segment that we do where I do my high, Claire says her low, I do my high, she does her low, I do my high. We compliment Sandwich the book because when I was a kid, my blended family was having a hard time coming together. So at night at the dinner table, we would do this every day so that we could commiserate over each other's lows and celebrate each other's highs. Clarus, you're going to start us off. What is your high for Fourth Wing?
My high for the book. I think that there are some really fun ideas and that Xaden is an interesting character. I think that there's a really good idea in here that I like, and that kept me reading, which I feel like is a very generalized high, but I think that that's what carries the book for me, is that I'm like, oh, I like the ideas that are in here and how they manifest through the character of Xaden.
Yeah.
What's your low?
My low would be that I think the pre-threshing relationships between the characters tries too hard to telegraph how they're going to feel post-threshing, particularly with Dane and Xaden and Violet's relationships with them. And I think that if the book had been a little bit less definitive about how she was eventually going to feel about people, the pre-threshing part of the book would feel more interesting.
Yeah. My low is that first page at the very beginning before the book starts, where I'm like, why would you do this? This is a terrible thing to include. It doesn't make any sense. It throws everything in the book into a weird perspective for me, because I'm like, who wrote this and why are we using it in this person? Yeah. Why are these the details that we're keeping track? I hated that. I don't know why it's there. Get rid of it. It's so unnecessary. Literally, it's so unnecessary. It does not add anything to the book. It's just the weirdest thing that you could have possibly done.
Yeah.
What is your high?
The relationship between Violet and Liam and his ultimate death. I think it is the relationship because it's so easy to be the relationship between Xaden and Violet. It was hot and steamy and had sex. And that's mandatory for this style of book. But a lot of these romantic books are just that relationship, and everything else is so secondary that it's almost unimportant.
Yeah.
I like that Rebecca Yarros chose to have the relationship between Liam and Violet be a very important and impactful thing on its own.
Yeah.
That had moments that pushed them away from Xaden, right? That had a conflict with both of their relationships with Xaden and some secrets from Xaden.
Yeah.
And allowed for them to have a relationship outside of kind of the main couple relationship of the book that led to the most emotional part of the book, which was, I thought, his death. And I thought Liam just ended up being very interesting, and their relationship, even though obviously it's over now that Liam's dead, is the thing that makes me want to read more of the series. So definitely the high of the book for me.
Yeah. If you like the video,
Like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, hit the dislike button. Leave mean comments down below because the algorithm got us hungry and we must feed her. This episode, that algorithm goddess is
Violet.
Yeah, it's got to be. She's the lead character.
Yeah.
If you want to follow us around the internet, you can. I'm at Nerdy Nightly.
I'm at Claris Polaris.
Do something nerdy tonight. Do we do Smut Corner?
Here's the thing. I don't know about Smut Corner exactly, but I will say I do actually wish that there was any kind of sexual encounter that wasn't Xaden. Which I know sounds weird, but like Violet says she's had sex before.
I love that she's not a virgin.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
But like I think she could have like, you know, flirted with some people or you know, to what's the word that I'm looking for? To make her relationship with Dane more complex. Like maybe they like fooled around. Like maybe there's a moment there or like a something
And the
something.
comparison would be fun.
The comparison would be fun.
Because we do get the kiss that sucks.
Yeah, right. Because this book has a good amount of smut in it, I would have actually liked a more like variety of smut.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Or if we everything's first person, so we can't get a Rhiannon scene, but like we
Hearing
weirdly
Rhiannon
get a
or something?
Xaden perspective at the end of the book.
Oh yeah, that
just
was
in
odd.
out of nowhere.
That was odd.
So I think that yeah, I agree with you. I think that even if it wasn't all the way. Right, I think that her like
just a bit of fooling
giving
around
a hand job would have been
yeah, because they are like you know they're in their early 20s, they're all horny as fuck and gonna die, like you know like lean into that, make it I feel like we could have had a bit more of that, but that's about.
And the scene could have even come from a place of her wanting to not be trying so hard not to be into Xaden that she like deliberately tries
finds someone else,
gets fingered by a guy. It doesn't go any further than that, you know what I mean? But like something I agree with you. I think there could have been something like that.
Yeah,
I don't think the book needed more smut, so if it wasn't first person, like I think that like Rhiannon I think a scene where Rhiannon tries to bring all the people she fucked together before graduation to see if she can have an orgy with everyone she fucked that year would be very funny.
Love it.
Yeah,
we're ending on an orgy.
I love that she keeps fucking Tara and we never meet Tara.
Yeah.
Like they're on again, off again the whole book.
Her.
I don't think we ever have a scene with her the whole book.
I know.
I can't wait to meet Tara in Iron Flame, which we will cover if
Maybe.
this does well. I don't know. If
We'll
nobody
see.
wants to see us do it, we're not going to do it just to do it. But
yeah, I might read it out of curiosity for myself.
I'll definitely read it at some point. So we'll probably cover it at some point.
We'll probably
Why
cover
not?
it, I guess, if we're gonna read it. But
if you bye. Thank you to our mods. New channel. I hope you liked it.
yeah,
We'll
we
see
need
you
to
all.
make Fabu a mod.
Oh yes.
Sorry, Fabu.
See y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, the recording's done, but I can't actually stop the stream from there.
Oh, you didn't make that a button?
No, I forgot.